Welcome back, Martini Giant fans. This is episode number 122, which is the 2001 film Amélie, directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet. And we paired that with a film that I had never seen before, Daniel has never seen before, Eric has never seen before, and it was a suggestion by my daughter Lily, who joined us on the podcast, and it's called The Brand New Testament, and that is directed by someone named Jacques Van Dormel, who's Belgian. This is a Belgian film. It's a very, very dark, satirical look and dark look at religion in general. We thought it was a very interesting pairing. We had mixed feelings about the film, but it was really interesting to pair that with Amélie, which is actually a perfect pairing for these two films. Really cool stuff and really sort of a sentiment to what's going on. As you guys can see, I am currently in Sofia, or maybe you don't know that this is Sofia behind me, but I am in Sofia, Bulgaria. I have been traveling a lot, which explains why I haven't been able to do our Twitch recordings more recently. And in fact, I probably won't be able to do a Twitch recording until July 22nd. But would love to be able to have you guys on and check us out when we do that. So probably, just make sure and follow us, twitch.tv/martini_giant. Again, twitch.tv/martini_giant. And of course, YouTube is a good place to watch these videos after they've been recorded on Twitch. And that is youtube.com/@martinigiant. Again, youtube.com/@martinigiant. And don't forget to subscribe to that channel. And of course, like this video if you do, and leave us a comment and let us know what you think. All right, but now, please enjoy Amélie and The Brand New Testament. These are two movies that were suggested by Lily. Actually, the first one, or the second one, is going to be The Brand New Testament. Have you guys ever seen that movie?
No, I had never even heard of that movie.
Have you never heard? I haven't either. So,
yeah, but it's a good pairing with Amélie for sure. For obvious reasons.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And she picked Amélie as the pairing. I was like, that's good.
That's brilliant.
It's good. So, so it's really cool, really cool. But Amélie, I've seen that movie 2 dozen times. A lot.
Yeah, that's what they call a French classic at this point. Classique des Français.
It is. It's a very sweet movie.
Mm-hmm.
Eric loves it. He has a poster behind him, so I don't really have to ask him if he likes Amélie or not.
No, that's his spite poster.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like, God damn that thing.
I hate this movie
so much. I'm going to put the poster up in my my workroom
to remind me of the limitations of film. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, this is an awesome pairing. Thank you very much for picking it, and welcome, Lily.
Welcome.
Welcome back.
So, I figure what we'll do is we'll start with Amélie and then go into the Brand New Testament.
Yeah,
how's that sound?
That's good here.
Now, are you fans of the directors of Amélie?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sort of on.
I've only seen 2 of the movies.
Yeah. What's the other one you've seen?
Delicatessen.
Yeah.
City of Lost Children.
I like that one.
Have you seen City of Lost Children?
Oh no, that's a lie. I've seen 3 of them. City of Lost Children was the other one. Yeah.
You also did the Aliens, right?
Alien 4.
Yes, Alien 4 Resurrection.
I live with a purist, so I've only seen the first 2 of the Alien movies.
You have excellent taste.
Was it? No. It was Alien 4 Regret.
Yes, here's your money back. That's a weird
Alien
title.
4, here's your money back.
Regret. It's Alien 4 Refund.
Yeah, this guy just call it, can I have my money back? And they're like, why is it called that? You'll understand.
You'll understand. Wait, why are we standing in line for this movie?
Oh man, because everyone bags on Alien 3, and I understand. It's off key, especially from Aliens.
Right.
But that's a pretty good B movie compared to Alien 4, which is like Joss Whedon wrote the screenplay, which is like Joss Whedon at full speed, self-referencing, awkward comedy, which is a bad fit with bleakness.
Well, it was, I went to an exhibit of Lebbeus Woods,
mm-hmm.
and they had a whole bunch of his sketches for his design of Alien 3, which they never used. They did
interesting.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look that up.
it was like the place was supposed to be much more not like this rugged, weird prison, but it was much more like a monastery kind of.
Yeah, they went. The production on that thing was so ridiculous. Like Fox is bad news when it comes to making movies anyway. Like they're really hard to work with from everything I've seen. But Fincher had he doesn't talk about Alien 3 at all because it was such an ugly experience that he almost quit making movies. And before he really even started, that was his first movie. And originally it was supposed to be a planet or like a space station made of wood. And it was monks that lived on a wooden space station. And I'm just like
also wood, by the way.
Yeah, it's
because it's light and it can fly in
thick,
space.
so it can
space
fly.
wind.
Yeah, exactly. But like,
so what do you think, Josh?
Sounds?
You like the idea? Where do you probably churning some ideas right there?
Exactly. Aliens.
We at Fox really wanted to be a balsa wood ship.
Yeah,
and we want kind of space to be like almost like we're driving through Malibu, right?
What if it takes place in the desert, sort like in San Bernardino, maybe? And they go back in time to exactly this year. How about that?
I own some property out there, and I really want Fox to rent it because we can help with the taxes this year.
Exactly.
So if you can push that, Josh, that would be great.
It's still gonna be $50 million, but I know we can rent it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like by the time that Jeunet, Caro, or it was just Jeunet on that, I think it was just
he
Jeunet
split with Caro or whatever.
Like by the time he shot Alien 4, like nobody knew how to steer that ship. No one knew what to do with it. So I don't really blame him for it. I expect that it was just as a hard ride on for him as it was for Fincher. So that's an unwatchable movie. That's a much worse movie than Alien 3. But I did love Delicatessen, and so I had gone into Alien 4 thinking this is going to be amazing.
But didn't he do? I mean, Amélie was after that.
Amélie is, I believe, I may have this
2000.
wrong, but yeah, Amélie is post Alien 4 as his recovery movie.
Okay,
and he definitely that's why he essentially reaches back into his own childhood for lots of imagery and all this kind of stuff, and he's just trying to reinvent his love for film because Fox had utterly destroyed his will to live. Yeah.
Well, they do that. They did like what was his name when he did Godzilla?
Oh yeah. Like
Garrett Edwards.
Garrett Edwards.
They just destroyed him.
Yeah. Like that poor dude
after that? No.
He did recover after. He did pretty well, didn't he? He did
Rogue One, which was also messed with by the studio and 60%.
But it's better.
It's a good movie.
It's one of the better Star Wars movies.
Right. But like he has learned. I don't think that we've actually seen a movie from him outside of his first one that represents himself, like as a director since Monsters. And which Monsters is a pretty good movie.
I like Monsters.
But he has agreed to play the studio game, and he's just like, I'll do Star Wars and create this whole new vibe. And they're like, let's see what you got. And they're like, we hate this. And so we're going to get Tony Gilroy in to remake your movie for you. And he's like, that's cool.
Okay, thanks, guys.
I'm just like, that poor dude. Like, I mean, I don't know if his movie was any good, but he has been through the ringer on
what's
the studio experience.
There's a movie he did is coming out soon.
Yes, he's got a movie with John David Washington coming out, which looks sort of in between an extremely indie sci-fi movie and a way over budgeted TV miniseries, but it might be good.
Is it the one about the AI and the
yes
yeah. That one looks I'll see that.
I'll see it. I think it's on the it looks interesting. I love Washington. I think he's terrific, and like the imagery it looks kind of like if it's bad, it's going to be like a concept art movie where you see like, oh, that's a cool image and that's a cool image and there's no story that connects them. But if it's good, it's going to be very fresh. Okay. So I'm waiting to see how that plays out. I like him as a director. I respect what he's trying to do, but I feel bad that he's been so hammered by he's like one of those laundry balls that you throw in the washer. Like that's been his studio experience. like everybody. I mean, I suppose that everybody who directs Marvel movies goes through the same thing, but at least they don't even try to pretend like you're going to have a voice in it. Like Marvel gets Chloe Zhao, who directed one of the best dramas I've ever seen with The Rider. And it's just like, cool, you're going to do Elementals. And it's going to cost $1 zillion. The Eternals. I'm sorry, the Eternals. It's going to cost $1 zillion. And we're going to put your name on it. And you don't even have to show up. I'm like, don't take that deal.
Yeah.
That sounds like a bad deal.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
All right.
I think this is for Amélie. This is a great rebirth movie.
Yeah, but he hasn't really done much since then, has he?
He's done a couple of things. He did Very Long Engagement,
Right.
which is pretty good. You know, it's now and again. I just don't think he has the enthusiasm that he once did.
Yeah. All right. So, Amélie, Lily, the deal is we go through and we spoil the whole thing, as you know, and you are going to be the storyteller, narrator. So what happens at the beginning of Amélie?
It's really, I forgot what you said exactly before, but it's very, it delves deep into the whole childhood thing, and just in general how, not her problems, but her quirks, like how that all kind of started was because of how she was raised.
Right.
It's that kind of idea. It pretty much starts narrating her childhood, how her father only really ever made contact with her when he was giving her a physical, and hence he thinks she has heart issues because she gets excited.
Issues, really.
He thinks she has heart issues because she gets, like, her heart beats faster whenever she has physical contact.
Right.
But if he had contact with her more than like once a year, then that wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Right.
It's a whole thing of like situations clashing. And
her
He's not a
paranoid,
bad
too.
guy. Right?
her mom is super paranoid.
Super neurotic.
Oh, right.
I don't know anyone like that.
Yeah, I don't. I never
Like,
grew up
they're
around
not like
that.
they're not villainous parents. It's not like, you know, it's not like the evil parents made her a certain way. But like they got their own problems.
They
And
try
she-
their best, but they've
yeah.
got their own things going
Yeah.
on. Which,
Exactly.
who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. It just gets passed down to her in this new way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, and then it's kind of
But we learn about her quirks, right? Like you were saying, she's got
Yeah.
those little quirks and all the
Just-
things that she loves to do, right? So she likes to, and they also do this great thing where they talk about all the things that they love and all the things that they don't love, right?
Yeah, it gets very specific, and I love that because it's
But that type of storytelling where it's just these little visual details and little things about their personality, and the world is very hyper real. You know, I think I read somewhere, like if you look, like all the telephone poles and wires are taken out.
Oh, interesting. They cleaned up Paris. I didn't realize this. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like literally you can't see on these vistas or the shots, like all that kind of stuff is gone.
Highly romanticized.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also, this was at the when Hollywood suddenly decided we have DI and we're just going to
It's
give
blasted,
you all the
yeah.
colors.
It's
You
like
know,
it's like
it's also
Paint Your Wagon, or not Paint Your Wagon. It's like what's it? Seven Brothers for Seven Brothers, where you're like, oh my god, I feel like I'm being attacked.
So much color coming at me.
Right.
the other interesting thing is that when I saw it, I've seen it so many times, but I was like, I forgot that it was before 9/11 because there's a whole different type of storytelling after 9/11.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there's this, just the way the characters were and saw the world, even though it's a very romanticized thing, it just was like, I don't know if, 2000 and then a year later we had
Yeah, it's I know it's an understatement, but like really looking on where film went just globally, but just everywhere from indie to big budget stuff after 9/11. It's a bleak ride. Like Amélie is like the last big sweet hurrah that you get.
Alton Brown made a point about that, but less with film and more with like TV, about how after 9/11 everyone turned to the Food Network because they wanted comfort and home and not severe.
Yeah, 100%. I 100% did that. My God. It's like all the Anthony Bourdain I could consume, like more taco truck expose. Anything you can do. I'm gonna focus on that for a while. Yeah, no, it's very true. But yeah, no, it's a great point, Eric. Where it's like the sweetness of this movie, and the thing is, it's not like, how can I say, like it is romanticized, and it's a very sweet movie, but like they still include, harsh things and gritty things, and like it's a much more sexually explicit movie than you would expect for something that you'd say is sweet, and it's like all sorts of stuff that like is very it keeps a groundedness.
The French
to it.
have no problems with
that.
I was about to say.
That's true. But
There's no reason. It was like, wow, the sex is good. It's natural.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
mean, and I'm in agreement with this. But it's like I think that it's even then it's like it's not simply fun. Like it's all like it's all attached to real emotional difficulties and real emotional stuff. Like she can't. She has trouble. She's extremely shy because she's lived basically indoors her whole life, and
she's been sheltered
and all this kind of stuff. And so, like, it doesn't back away from the fact that, like, she's messed up, and most everybody in the movie is messed up in some way. It's not like a fairy tale version of Paris where everything is wonderful. It's like it is all wonderful and beautiful, but everyone's very guarded at the same time.
Everyone has their quirks, right? And so they introduce
and their problems,
and their yes. Quirks, good or bad,
and all the stuff. Yeah, they all still exist,
right? But I love how the mother likes to clean out her purse and rearrange everything and put anything back, and then the father likes to take out his toolbox, clean everything else, and put everything back. And I was like, I get that.
Yeah,
yeah, I do too.
Yeah, totally.
I do that with my fly box all the time.
It's a cleansing thing. It's a cleansing thing.
That's right. It reorganizes the brain.
I also like he loves to peel large sheets of wallpaper.
It's sort of like this
aura of like satisfaction as he was doing that.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty good stuff.
So, but they have the cute things, she likes to put the raspberries on her fingers, and she likes to skip rocks in the canal. So.
Well, yeah, and like you get the feeling that like. The movie is siding with her, but she is the source of joy in the movie. Like she is constantly trying to connect people, and like she is to like she wants so desperately to connect that she makes that her sort of job with everybody else as well. She wants to create a world where she sees examples of what she wants to do.
She also has like a really strong sense of justice because the one person who she actively tried to harm was the grocer.
Right, exactly.
That was probably
that's
one
not
of my
justice.
favorites.
That's revenge.
That's yes, exactly. But yes, like a sense of righteous balance, right. I guess the way to look at it. But yeah, I think that's I like it, and that's one of those things. It's like if this were simply a regular sweet twee, light experience, it wouldn't have any of that stuff. It would just sort of glaze over
The
it.
interesting thing about that too, it's like I felt like everybody in the movie, with the exception of Matthew Kathwitz and her, they will never escape.
Yeah, they're in their own little loops.
Yeah,
right?
And frustrated or not, and she is kind of outside of that. But not like, she's going to become a famous dancer and, like a Stallone movie from the,
exactly.
It's not like a Donna Summer song. It's just there's
then she became an astronaut now.
Yeah, and but they can't escape.
Right.
Some have accepted it, some won't. Some it eats them alive.
Right.
But or they become mean people, right? And hurt that boy at the fruit stand.
Right.
So, but she's. I guess Lily was a great choice because she's playing God in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned when Dad asked what movie that Brandy Tesmet could go with. I was like, Amélie, because she's kind of playing God.
Yeah, that's smart.
Right. Yeah, that's true. It's a great connection.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But we introduced to her parents, and there's how she is and how she is where she is, and we just find out that she's working in a like coffee shop, but the little,
I mean, she must make a lot of
little
tips because
French
her apartment
cafe.
was so nice.
yeah.
Considering she works at the
Yeah, it's like Friends.
How can they afford
Yes,
this
I guess
apartment
so.
in New York?
Exactly.
Just work at a coffee shop. Right. So, but she's generally, find out she works at a coffee shop, and we meet all the regulars of the coffee shop. But it's a big part of it, right? So there's the
Guy
owner
from
of
City
the
of Lost Children.
yes, the guy from
Oh
City of
god,
Lost
the guy with the quarter is so creepy.
with the quarters.
with the recorder.
Oh,
Yes.
right. Yeah,
but he's a famous.
Yeah.
In France, he's famous.
he's
He
famous.
was really good in the other stuff I saw him, and he was good in this too. He was good in this too, but I was like,
He's a
I
laugh.
don't like
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was he in The Last Samurai as well with Tom Cruise? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Not entirely sure.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Not Mean Streets?
Not
He
Mean
was
Streets,
not
that's it.
in Main Streets.
Mean Streets.
No.
Guy with
6.
recorder.
That's such a mark of a good actor, though, to make someone hate you.
It's actually a problem for character actors because like people really hate them if they do their job well, and then they treat them badly
Nick
in the
Cage?
street when they see them. Yeah, I mean, like there's a famous bit from Aliens where Paul Reiser, the guy who plays the corporate villain in that one, like he couldn't get work because people hated him. Just like they just assumed he was an asshole like this, and they're just like, yeah, thanks a lot. You almost killed Ripley.
That was a movie. I was acting.
It's a movie, guys.
In one of the shows that we did, someone came up to my friend who was one of the villains in the story, and they went, you really made me hate you, and that is one of the
Right.
best compliments you can receive.
You're nailing it. Yeah, that's spectacular. Yeah, it's like you like hear stories of people that like have only seen There Will Be Blood and are terrified of Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm just like, he's like sweet shoe cobbler guy. He only does that when you give him money to do that stuff.
But it's weird when you meet actors and you see them in real life, and you have this vision. Like I was at a coffee shop in Beverly Hills, and I looked down, and I was putting and I look up, and it was John Malkovich was there, and I was like, I just had this expectation of Malkovich, like of all the weird things that he's done, and it's like he's a strange character. He's like he's just getting coffee like everyone else.
In sync with the characters he plays. I think he's probably basically himself, slightly good or slightly bad. But I bet if I met him, I'd be like, yeah, this is as weird as I expected it to be.
Did you see that clip of Bill Hader imitating John Malkovich to John Malkovich?
To his face.
Yes.
You talk exactly like this. I do not talk like this. Yes, you talk exactly like this.
Oh man. Yeah.
This is how you sound.
Man, my crush on Hader knows no bounds right now.
Yeah.
It's a boundless thing. It's ridiculous.
He's wonderful.
Yeah, he is really, really something. And I feel like I expect something as important as Amélie was from Hader when he finally makes like a movie.
Did you see Skeleton Twins?
I liked Skeleton Twins quite a bit. He didn't direct that though, did he?
No.
I'm not sure.
But it was him and what's her name?
Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig.
Yeah,
Skeleton
it's
Twins?
a pretty good little movie. It's a good little indie film.
Yeah.
And they play brother and sister and
Brother and sister,
yeah.
and they're highly troubled past.
it's sort of a boilerplate indie drama, but they're really, really good. They're really, really good in it.
That's good.
But yeah, post Barry, I'm really excited about that guy.
Post Barry.
Post Barry.
Barry's done. I haven't
Barry
seen
is
season
done.
4 yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Season 4 is a very different season.
It
I'll say
is.
that. It's a very different season. Cheers.
Well, season 3 was very different from 2.
It is.
Karen
a bigger
started
step.
watching season
Yeah.
3 with me again, and she's like, I don't like this. He's not nice.
Season 4 does that again.
Yeah.
It's really something to say. But that dude, yeah, I mean, anybody who can do not only do a perfect impression of Alan Alda, but would think of doing a perfect impression of
Yeah,
Amélie.
like of all the people, but he also
all
does.
the people you could do.
He also loves the to do the guy from Dateline. Like he.
Yes,
Oh,
he
it's
does.
great. He's great. At that
It's
one.
all he's like.
Very
Is,
funny.
I think he does a show with him.
Oh, does
Yeah.
he?
There's a thing online that you can see him. He actually goes to the guy doing that, and he impersonates him in front of him.
Well, I love when he does that. Like the gif of him eating popcorn. Like then he does the when he's doing what is the crime solving show, whatever it is. And
yeah.
he's just like, tell me more about how your mother was killed. He pulls a pan of popcorn and says, oh. That's amazing. Anyway, that's the Bill Hader experience for the show. We don't have to do any more of that.
Yeah, we do have a love. We should just have a picture of Bill Hader just come up behind us every time we bring him up.
Let's go start wearing the shirt. That's all right.
All right, so let's see. Where were we, Lily? See, we've established that she works at a coffee shop. There's quirky people. Who are the quirky people that work at the coffee shop?
There's the cigarette counter girl. I don't remember any of their names.
No.
There's the cigarette counter girl
Right.
who is not very stable.
Mm-hmm.
I would
And
say.
constantly sick.
Yes.
And constantly sick.
No, she's a
Hypochondriac.
hypochondriac. Yeah.
She's a hypochondriac.
There's there's her boss.
Who owns
She's
the
not-
cafe?
Yeah, like the owner of the cafe. She's not. I wouldn't call her that out there.
No, she's just.
she's one of
weather.
the
She's
more
pretty
normal-
normal. She's pretty normal.
Yeah.
Then there's the guy with the recorder that I
The
hate.
tape recorder.
Creepo. Yeah.
Who? Oh, right, the ex-girlfriend. Who the other waitress working there is the guy with the tape recorder. His ex-girlfriend. He is only a regular there to stalk her and
See the dudes that she's
make
talking to.
weird little notes
Yeah.
about what she's doing. I think one of them was like she laughed orgasmically, and then that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
And that dude, the character actor is such like a classic face. Like when you see him, you're like, oh, it's that guy.
Yeah.
It's like he has this weird, like his face is sort of like squished
Nose.
up at the bottom. He has this very like, and he's
Very
made $1 million on
rectangular
this. So I don't mean,
face.
yeah, exactly. Like I don't mean to be critical of him. He's made $1 million with this face. So like he's got, it's like he's the Steve Buscemi of France, and you're just like, that's a good look. And so when you see him, he's like,
He kind of
like
is,
this.
actually.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a very good point.
Like using this unique aspect of his face to define characters very quickly. Because when he plays nice guys, you're like, oh, it's the weird looking nice guy. And when he plays creeps, you're like, oh, that's the weird looking creep.
Whatever it is, it's weird looking.
It's weird looking. It sticks in your brain. It's good.
And remember in City of Lost Children, he was playing the clones of himself.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
He was
That
like
is
5 people. It was the
Five
same
people.
person and 5 different people at the same time.
Yeah, no, he's a great actor. Very, very good actor.
Actually, the whole plot of Amélie starts because Lady Princess Diana died.
Yes, that's
kinda,
right.
That's kind of why the whole thing was set in motion,
Right.
which is weird to think about, like a butterfly effect.
Yeah, because it fits into the sort of like there's because that symbolizes a sort of shattered romantic view of the world, like when Diana died, right? And she has like a perfume bottle or whatever it is in her hand.
She drops something out of the initial
Yeah.
shock, and then it rolls over and it knocks a floorboard loose. No, it knocks something loose.
Yeah.
And she opens it and she finds a little box of toys from someone who had lived there in the past.
Right.
It
And
was
she made it her goal to.
find it. She goes through elaborate. That's the thing about it. She goes through elaborate things to do things, right? Like,
Yes.
and she never wants to just like be straightforward and like, hey, you want to go on a date, or hey, I found your box
Where's the
of
fun in
toys.
that, though?
I know.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
the point.
Here's
right?
your photos. Bye.
But it was more like a what do you call those things? Time capsule, right?
Right.
It's like a little time capsule.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's like anyone remembers the books Griffin and Sabine, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Like it's more of like it's not the goal. The goal is not to like go give the dude his photos back or whatever his time capsule back. Like the goal is to intricately understand someone else's experience and how it's connected to the world and connected to you. And which is basically the movie. Like what's it like with the experience of the box and the experience of the photo album, the strip photos and all that stuff. Like it's just restatements of what Jeunet is doing with the movie itself. Like here are these. This is a time capsule of my perception of Paris, and you are going through it as a way to understand, me and how everything in it is connected. And so, like, she is a projection of the director, finding these little things that are little Amélie boxes that you sort of unfold and you find out about somebody's life, just like we're doing with the movie. And so, like, that dude that she tries to figure out, like, who this box belongs to by talking to her neighbors, and that introduces us to her neighbors, one of which is God's wife in the next movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, she was the concierge, right?
Yeah. And so the journey of exploring what's inside the box, or later on what's inside the photo album or whatever it is, like, is the journey of the movie made small.
Right. It leads her to learn about the concierge's life with her husband before he cheated on her or whatever, and then it leads her to learn about the devastated her life, right? Well, he cheated on her and then he disappeared.
And it's like, and shit, this is like 30 years ago, whatever it is, like it's a long time ago, and it's wrecked her whole life. Like she can't stop thinking about it. And so that opens up in a whole other story,
Right. But the thing is, what you're introduced to all these stories, good or bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the grocer is not necessarily a good person, and then she's a very sad and depressed person and has a very sad story, and then the man of glass is a whole other story. But for
I
each,
like him.
yeah, of course. But each one of these, she sets in motion some intricate, Rube Goldberg thing,
yes,
to solve the problem that they have, right? Or to make their lives a little bit better, right? She wants to make everyone's lives a little bit better.
And the mechanism is because she's shy, she doesn't want to directly do any of this.
Right.
Right. And so she comes up with these Rupert Goldberg ideas because, like, it gets her around immediate confrontation.
Right.
And so she has to sort of scoot her way towards an event. And then that creates little memories of its own for the entire movie. And so, like, it reminded me of another movie from the 90s, like just a few years before that, Run Lola Run.
I love Run Lola Run.
Money, Schweizer.
Yeah, and Lola Rent, to our German friends. Where it's like you get, like, Lola would bump into a person, and then you see, like,
how their lives have changed.
Their entire life deviate in 1,000 photographs in a second. And you're just like, and you're like, whoa, just because she did this, their entire universe has changed, even though it's just the briefest interaction. And so you get that, like Amélie is purposefully doing this, but you get it both ways, both in the way that she changes things and also in how the story of her life is told, especially in the beginning with the narration. It's like, and then she grew up here, and then dad was like this, and sort of narrates through all that stuff. And then you get the same little bits about, like, the guy whose photographs those are and all that stuff. So it's like, yeah, it feels very Russian Dolly in that way.
Right. So as Lisa, she finds this, Lady Di dies, which leads her to have a shock, to drop a perfume bottle that opens up a floorboard, that opens up a time capsule of a kid from probably 30 years ago, right?
I think they said it was like the 50s was
right.
their guess of when.
I was going to say, that actually happened to my sister.
No kidding, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
In 1985. It wasn't a box. It was, she was working for a famous architect in the town I grew up in, Connecticut. And they were actually working on Bill Murray's house, if you can believe that. And she went to the bathroom, washed her hands, and it was an old building, so all the fixtures, everything, was with a tile. It was all from the 30s or 20s. And it was on the second floor. And she saw something glimmer. So she got another girl, and they got a flashlight, and they looked in, and it was a diamond ring, and on the diamond ring was initials. It was a wedding ring for this woman, her engagement ring, and it fell down the sink. They lived there in an apartment. So they actually took a couple months to find this woman.
Oh, that's wild.
And they gave it back to her. Her husband had passed like a year or two prior, but that was the wedding, that was the engagement ring.
Oh, that's wild, man.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? But they didn't keep it. They literally brought it back to her, and she was still alive. And she was like, oh my God, it was like 1958. And it fell, and she felt so guilty, and she didn't know where she lost it. Right. She was like, I thought I fell down the kitchen sink, or I couldn't find it. And it was the bathroom sink, and she found it.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's really neat.
It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really nifty. And I like how, like, I like as Lily, you're bringing up, it's like, this is like, you know, it's 1950s, like the difference between these things is shown in the, like the time jump and the comparison between these two times of Paris is really interesting, especially in that, like, when they show stuff in black and white, and like it gets to like like when he's like the marbles bit and all that stuff, right? Like, that's all very, very French New Wave in terms of its filmmaking.
Right.
And we've covered French New Wave stuff here, and I know that we are all fans of French New Wave. And this movie itself is like it's way more like French New Wave is very freeform and non-planned.
Yes.
And this is extremely, like, obviously, like, heavily worked on. All the production is very intense with this. But they're really trying to recount.
French New Wave is also not very approachable sometimes. And
it's very
approachable.
Right? Yeah, and this is like the opposite end of that experience.
Sure.
And so, like, even the movie has a dialogue with the journey of French film, because, like, it's trying to maintain the energy, or have, like, grab that energy again of the French New Wave, but repackage it in a very stylized, very manufactured, Hollywoodish way, like highly produced, lots of camera movement, dollies, and, you know, production and all this kind of stuff. And so in one way, it's the opposite of the French New Wave, but at the same time, has the same, like, it awakens the same enthusiasm. And that's the effect that it had on the French film industry from coming out. From Amélie's effect on film was huge, you know, in the same way that French New Wave stuff was. But it's awesome that he juxtaposes that within the same film by going, like, okay, now his memories are French New Wave memories, and you're like, whoa, and now you see, like, how different it is and how similar it is at the same time.
Right. We should also note that there's a narrator that tells you exactly what's going on the whole time.
Yes.
Very, very, very detailed, like every
Hyper-detailed
nuance of poetry that you might have missed visually. He makes sure to point it out to you.
It's a very dry voice too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I've always liked that, like, dry narration,
I'm in agreement with you.
or like especially like the quick dry narration.
Yeah, when it's all just, it started listing a bunch of facts. Here's a bunch of things that happened, you know, and, like, you're going, wait, that's really big. Yeah. No, one thing we always talk about here is I don't know if you've seen it, Lily, but there's this Western with Brad Pitt called The Assassination of Jesse James by the Robert Ford. And it's one of the best movies literally ever made. It's unbelievably good. But it also has, like, the driest narration you've ever heard. Like, no matter what the fuck they're talking
Is it
about. It's
Sam
just like,
Shepard? Who did the narration?
the narration is the editor. They recorded a temp track just to pace out the movie. And the editor's like, well, I'll just do the narration myself, and then we'll hire a famous voice later. And then the director's like, we've tried and all these other actors, and nobody is better than the editors. And so, like, and it's because the editor was just doing it he didn't even fuck at all. He was just like, and here we are recording Jesse James. You know? and so, like, the whole movie sounds like that, even though there's no emotion in his voice whatsoever. Right. That's what holds the movie together beautifully. And the same thing happens in this. It's really, really something.
Yeah. Okay, so sets in motion the things that set in motion. She's finding this time box. She wants to figure out who this person is. So she asks people who live in the apartment, which introduces us to all the neighbors. The one person we meet is the concierge whose husband left her, but she still cherishes him.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Right? So she has a shrine to him under glass, which she wipes clean every day.
Right. She's romanticized this cad. Right. Like, the guy was obviously you know,
Left her.
yeah, he's a
I think she
scumbag.
also she also holds like resentment and doesn't have that closure of like
Oh, for sure.
he
Yeah.
he left me then disappeared. Like that's all she gets.
Right. Right.
But they
like
all seem to be like that at the cafe. There's this like a simmering of just accepting their fate.
a sense of longing is very like shit. Like Amélie is longing. Everybody is like pining for some other thing. And yeah, the concierge story is like like this. Like if you just read that on a piece of paper, you'd be like, "God, the guy sounds like kind of a dick," and that'd be the end of it. But it's dominated her life because, as you're saying, well, it's like because she has no closure, it becomes a bigger and bigger and more dominant story in her life. Like she's unable to move beyond this thing, and so
is closure very important to all you guys?
Yes.
sort of.
What do you mean by that, Eric? What's your question?
Well, closure, like in relationships, you just mentioned closure. Like you need to have some sort of definition to it, or something that way you can get on with your life, or at least understand it in a way, because you have trouble understanding what just happened.
What do you guys mean?
Lily is agreeing with you.
Yeah, as an example,
Very heavily, yes.
as an example of closure.
That's the thing. So am I. And guess what? I'm not getting all cuckoo here, but you are born on July 1st.
That's right.
It's a cancer thing. It's a cancer
I'm
thing.
born on July 1st. So we're both July 1sters.
That's
Closure is important.
So does closure have to be something like that you do external to yourself with involving other people?
Yeah. Well, I did it once. It sounds crazy, but before I, well, it's personal stuff, but before I asked my wife to marry me, I flew back to New York and I met somebody I knew, and we spent 4 or 5 hours walking around the West Village, and then we just total closure, and then she got on a train right at Sheridan Square, and I never saw her again. I flew back to LA and proposed.
Right on.
You just had to have that closure. You couldn't.
I did. That's why I feel like that is another great short. I wrote it as a film, but yes, that's basically it. And I needed it, and then I was like, okay, there we go.
That was the plot of High Fidelity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
in a neurotic way. Yeah, but that's literally what I did. And
Like whatever happened to us, I knew you were coming here for closure. I knew you were coming here.
Some people need it, and and it wasn't like I was argumentative or anything. I just, I knew I'd never see her again, and that's fine. But I just needed to say, God, I was thinking this and that, and I want to get on with my life.
Right.
So just let's meet. And we did. And it was just wonderful. Her arm was in mine. We just walked around.
I
Coffee.
I definitely think that there's, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I'm wondering because I hear about it two different, I hear about it in two different ways, right? And sometimes it sounds like setting up something that you can't control, which I'm against.
No, you accept. Look, I literally down Sheridan Square in the train subway. I was like, I'll never see her again. See you later.
Right, that's that.
God bless.
Makes sense.
And
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And there was no tears or it's like, okay.
Call it a day.
There we go. Now I can get on.
Right.
I literally went to Kennedy and flew back.
Because for instance,
no joke.
In the movie, I feel very bad for the
Concierge.
The concierge.
I know.
And this is something, and what Amélie does to try and solve it is very interesting, right?
Right.
Because what has happened for her is that what has happened for the concierge is that she's turned her life into a story, and she's a
romantic.
She's a romantic, and this is to me the bad kind of romance.
Yeah.
I believe in romanticism, but I don't believe in. I believe in romanticism, like the painting of the guy staring off across the mist, the 1800s painting,
Friedrich.
yeah, Caspar
David
Friedrich,
Friedrich.
right? And like where you're just like there is something
Notice
innately.
how I picked that up really fast, Chris. That's called art history background.
This is like cultural literacy in action. But that I believe in a natural endemic spirituality to existence itself, right? As does the movie Amélie, I believe. But at the same time, I think that getting trapped in a romantic story, as the concierge does, can ruin your life. And because you're giving up control of your life to something that.
But there are different, and strange but true. I won't say names or anything, but I actually know somebody who, for 40, 50 years, but proposed to his girlfriend. She said yes. Next day, she flew to Paris, and it was flight 800.
Oh God, yeah, man.
And there has never been a closure in his life. It's still, yeah, he can't be with anybody else.
Well, because that's
Sucks.
like, right, because like this stuff sounds, I'm sorry, we're getting so, it's an affecting movie, and I think it's appropriate to talk about this stuff. So like
talking about plane crashes and broken
engagements. No, dude,
yeah. These things happen in these movies.
And by the way, he is a pilot for TWA, and he was supposed to be the pilot of the plane.
Oh golly!
The last minute, he was swapped out with somebody else, so he took a flight to Geneva or somewhere else.
Right.
And so that regret is like, I just wish I was on that plane, so I wouldn't feel this way.
Right.
And by the way, Andy Warhol's died in '87, but his longtime boyfriend and lover was on that plane.
Oh, that's man. Yeah, man. And because that was Boston to New York, right?
No, it was New York to Paris.
New York to Paris. Okay.
I remember the call. I was in Brentwood. I was like, it
was a plane crash, right?
It was shut down.
Right.
He's been involved in a lot of things. There was a test in Mexico. He was involved in that where there's a lot of going on, but there was military exercises, naval exercises in the Atlantic.
Right.
And the residue on the air compartment area that blew up is like Exocet missile type, residue.
I mean, someone could have been carrying Exocet missile residue in their suitcase.
No, it was,
but probably not.
It was naval exercises, and it was.
Are you sure you want to bring that Exocet suitcase?
Well, it's the type of, the plastic explosive they use in the missiles. It's a very distinct compound, and the residue. It's because there's rare earths and combinations of things that you just don't see normally.
Yeah,
and so
it's pretty specific and heavily guarded kind of compound.
But it's but yeah, I'm not to get too dreary, but he's a wonderful, wonderful human being, and it's just there's a closure thing, and for somebody who's very sensitive to closure, it's painful to see.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because what I was going to say is like this stuff comes very close to in the neighborhood of forgiveness, right? Like the puzzle of forgiveness is that you need to be able to forgive people who have died, which means that you can require nothing of them if you are to succeed in forgiving them. And most people think of forgiveness today as a codependency in which the other person involved must make amends. And that's not really what forgiveness is. Like forgiveness is letting go of something in yourself. That's it.
That's right.
Can you get the mic closer to you?
You bet. And so like closure is as a concept, like the way you're describing it, where it's just like where you retain control over it. And you're like, I am letting go of this. Like that is a powerful and good thing to do to me.
I was also letting go of any anger or misconception. Yeah. Right. And by just doing that, literally we sat on the stoops of, we lived together in the village, West Village. And it was like just walked around, sat on the stoops. It was summer. you know, got nice coffee at Olives, walked around,
Right.
and just talked about life. And
You're letting go of all the
and it was
baggage and all
so
the pain. Right.
wonderful. And as a human being, I was like, I love you as a human being.
Yeah.
And I wish you all the love and everything. And
beautiful. I
I
think
know
that's
I'll
great.
never see you again. And got an insurance square and left. But I felt so like, not angry as a human being. And you can't control things. And life is, I've often said, and you guys, Chris always laughs at me, just so you know.
Get ready to laugh, Chris.
And,
This is intense.
but like, it sounds so naturey, but like, I see life is like,
It means like crystals and unicorns. Go
yeah,
ahead.
that kind of crap. But it's just like, I see it as like embers, and sometimes embers from fires hit each other and they bounce and then they fizzle out. That's life. And you just have to kind of be like, okay, we're going to hit.
This is
bounce,
what happens. Right.
and just keep going until I pass away and non-exist.
Right.
And that's kind of how, the more you accept it, I think
The more present you can be in the moment to experience.
And then you
Well,
can see
there's a quote in the next film that I think is wonderful when they keep talking about going to paradise, and he goes,
Oh yeah.
"This is paradise.
This is it. Exactly. This
There's
is
nothing
it.
after this.
I don't know what you're hoping for.
What are you hoping? We
Yeah,
made this
exactly.
for you."
So like,
I wasn't
so-
trying to get
No, not at all. I'm totally with you. And it's
Get
like
my
this, but
point.
this is very true because like to connect it back to the movie, it's like this is the problem that the concierge has is like she has placed the ability to heal outside of herself.
Right.
That's right.
Right. And so, for
Amélie
her-
has to find a solution to give her closure.
yes. Please continue with that. I didn't mean
Sorry,
to
we
go
went
off
on
quite
a
so long
tangent,
on
but
it,
it
but
was
it's,
a
I think
nice
it's a really
tangent.
It
important
was a
part of the
beautiful
film.
It was a
tangent, and
nice
I didn't
tangent.
stop
Yeah.
any of it, Eric. I didn't.
Yeah, I think it's great.
I did.
Movies are about emotions.
Well,
That's the
yes,
whole
and this
idea.
one's got a howl out of it. this one makes sure it's a t-shirt cannon of emotions coming at you.
Exactly. Oh, can I pause? By the way, I just want to show. Speaking of t-shirts, I just want to show this off. Franco, if you're watching, I got your t-shirt. Can anyone tell me what that's from?
I can't. It is getting called out.
Okay.
Put it in front of your
Okay.
chest and
Hang
up.
on, I gotta.
No, in front of your chest, like you're wearing it.
Like hold it up to
There
the.
you go. No. Nope. Nope.
You're just gone.
That's all right. So what that is a t-shirt from the opening of Peter Weir's Master and Commander. A friend of mine made a t-shirt, and I wanted to say I'll put that on the show. It's so fucking awesome, and I can't because I get cut out by Zoom. But I tried. Any case, there we go. That's my product placement for my buddy. I just want to
That's
say,
great.
Master and Commander. Okay.
Master and Commander t-shirt.
I think I told you I saw that at the Cinerama Dome.
Oh, that's a good
I
place to see
knew a
that
guy
movie.
who worked on that,
Oh wow.
and he did all the 3D for it, and it was
All the
right
ships
in-
and stuff.
Yeah, it was in Santa Monica, and the big problem was all the chatter for the CG lines of the ropes and stuff from a distance.
Oh, the aliasing.
It was a nightmare.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Great
Trying
movie,
to
though.
render that so it doesn't, all those little hooks and lines that go up
Yeah.
don't
That's
chatter,
insanity.
and they
Yeah,
just
you can
constantly
do that with ray tracing now. It's much easier.
But for that time
That's
period,
right.
it was
It's horrible.
Everything is Fresnel.
I
Yes.
think mental ray they were using,
Were they using Mental Ray?
something like that. It was they were using
RenderMan?
It was RenderMan.
It was Render.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it was chattering. And you had to put like the ray rates of 0.25. Remember, it would take like 7 hours to render a frame.
Yeah, it was huge time.
Yeah. Sorry, distracted.
That's right.
Okay, back to what we're talking about. So
Well,
she
Sort
tries
of back, going to the point of closure, Eric. That's a really inspiring story of how you got that closure, and it's something that I can only hope to achieve. But it also comes in many different forms because I feel like the concierge. I think she had a couple of types that she needed. She needed the closure of the hate that she held, and she needed the closure of the romance that she lost.
Mhm.
And I think she got both of those with that letter, which is why that makes it twice as meaningful.
So tell us about the letter.
Yeah, in fact, we can go through these stories
Yeah.
individually as opposed to the way that they interweave with each other. But go ahead. So what did she do?
I forgot when, but
She watched a documentary on. She saw it was a news agency
It was a newspaper.
Right.
It was a newspaper that was like, oh, this plane that crashed however many years ago, they found a bunch of mail on it that has been lost for 30 years. And she took that idea and she ran with it and she made photocopies of the old letters and pieced them together into a new one and then gave it to her. And the concierge read it and it basically said something along the lines of, I left the woman that I said I was leaving you for, and I do truly love you, and yada yada. And then he disappeared, obviously, so he's still gone, but she got that necessary, like, quote unquote proof. I say proof with air quotes because it's fake, but
well, I think
she got what she needed from it.
Right. Like that it's fictional is the most important thing to me.
I mean, like, what is he going to do? Deny it? He's dead. So it's fine.
Exactly. Well, like she heals the concierge's life with a story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because her problem was she had turned her life into a story that other people were writing. And so Amélie steps in to finish writing that story for her so she can get back to living. Like, I think that says a lot about storytelling, i.e. filmmaking, and what they're doing with this movie. I think that a lot of this is to do with Jeunet's own life and him trying to face and deal with real things in his life. But
he has problems with his life and he needs a story to get out of it.
Yes. And I think that for many people that saw this movie, it had that effect. Like, many people who saw this movie was huge and was a very, very
internationally huge.
Internationally huge.
Yeah.
And remains like a huge sort of life touchstone for many, many people. It's a landmark in French filmmaking, and it's a very important movie to millions of people. And it's because the movie itself is the fake letter to us, you know. And it's one of the best. Like, that's one of my favorite bits of the movie. The movie is very sort of what's it called, recursive in how it tells its story.
Right.
But this is one of the most important bits. And like, once I saw that, you start seeing it in everything else. So, say, for instance, the garden gnome and her dad.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Right. Which is also
people did that after this movie.
Did it after the movie. Still do it. It's like a thing. But like, in which, you know, she in the middle of the night steals because her dad is like, she sees that her dad is living such a closed off life as she was.
His mother died.
Yep.
Yeah.
That she's like, I'm going to take his garden gnome and give it to my, air steward friend, and she's going to take it around the world as if the gnome itself is traveling, and send the photos back to my dad. And I'm not going to. No one's going to explain it. and the dad has this sort of puzzling little journey.
He keeps getting letters of his garden gnome in different areas of the world. Right. But essentially, what the garden gnome is telling him is like, "Hey, I can get out here. Why don't you start traveling?
I'm a goddamn garden gnome." You know.
Oh, and the mother hated the garden gnome, right? That was the other thing. His mother hated the garden gnome. When she died.
Yes.
He can finally put the garden gnome out.
Yes, exactly. And the garden gnome is free. And so the garden gnome represents freedom and freeing yourself again.
Or the bravery of being
from the bravery. Like, the garden gnome is a story that inspires a reality, right? Because he does take action off of that, you know. And so at the end of the movie, he goes on a trip, and you're like, good job, Amélie. Like, and good job, garden gnome.
Yeah.
You know, but he's the one who takes the action. And so, like, the movie is centered around this idea of, like, stories themselves are a call to action. Like, don't just live in stories, you know, like, act on stories. That, like, your life is not a story. Your life is for real. And this is where it really connects for me back to the French New Wave, because that is the basic thesis of the French New Wave. It's to reject story. Well, it's saying this is reality, and reality is really fucking weird and very immediate. And so this movie is using all the technique of what the French New Wave was fighting against to make a French New Wave statement. That's
very good.
Super film nerdy, but I really, really love it. And it's why it works for people. They don't even have to have seen Francois Truffaut movies in order to get knocked on their ass by this movie. And because it's really truthful about that.
The tourism board must have been so happy with
this.
this.
Oh man, this is like the Lord of the Rings for France.
Yeah. It's like, whoa. Yeah.
They play this on the airplane when you're going to France. It's like, you're going to go to Paris.
Yeah, exactly.
The music.
You get off the plane and there's accordions there. Guys following you to baggage claim. Stop, please. No, please stop. I'm just at a long flight. Thank you.
Yeah, before that they just played Day of the Jackal all the time. They're like turn plane
Little
around.
kids with like raspberries on their fingertips at baggage claim.
There you go.
Stop! I'm tired. Please, I implore you.
It's too much cuteness.
Garden gnomes everywhere. As you
Garden gnomes
Guys with tape recorders. Yeah, stop.
So that's the one closure. The other interesting one is the man of glass, right? Who is this very reclusive and interesting, strange person that she sees through the window. And we find out that he's called the man of glass because he has very frail bones and he can easily break his bones, right?
Like Samuel Jackson in the superhero movie. Anyway, go ahead.
That was the M. Night movie?
Yes, it's called Glass. And he plays Mr. Glass. Go on. Nobody needs to know that or remember it. Go ahead.
Shamalama ding dong.
Oh, that guy. God bless him.
That guy.
Occasionally skilled.
Occasionally. Like,
Occasionally
tell me
brilliant.
where you think M. Night Shyamalan is
They
skilled.
said he
I
was the
think he
next
is occasionally
Spielberg when he
brilliant.
came out.
I like The Village. I mean,
I
that
think The
wasn't,
Village
that
is
wasn't a bad one.
Yeah.
I watched it in class, and I got home and I was like, "Hey, we're watching this M. Night Shyamalan movie," and both of my parents went, "No, you're not."
Oh, dude, like, I will support you on that, and also add to it by saying that is actually his greatest twist movie, not because of the ending where they reveal the situation, but because there's almost no other movie I can think of where they successfully change main characters in the middle of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like Psycho, where you're just like, right?
Right.
I can't believe nobody talks about this. This is one of the most shocking things I've seen in any modern movies. It's just sort of like, oh, and then, well, I guess he's going to wait, what's happening? And then it goes
But he's
over,
dead, yeah.
He's dead. That's it, basically dead. And then it goes over to Bryce Dallas Howard, and then it's her movie.
I will admit, I predicted the modern thing like halfway through. I was like,
that's
oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, like that's the Twilight Zone regular where you just go, yeah, okay, that's cool. That's fine.
The reveal, not the reveal, but like the switch of like, oh, this guy's dead, and she's got to go say, whoa.
That's a shock. That's a
I
real
didn't
shock.
expect that. Yeah.
And so like that's where I'm like, that's when I say it as moments of genius, I'm just like, nobody's been able to pull that off in 60 years. And it really knocked me out when it happens. Really, really good stuff. And he has things like, even
They did that in Rollerball, though.
halfway through, they find out he's just going to play tennis from the rest of the film. That's the end of it. Space tennis.
I thought they did that in Rollerball.
Yeah,
I'll
pretty
check.
sure. The remake, anyway. I don't know what it was, but yeah, like that's like all of his movies have moments when you go like, damn, he is somewhere in there. Great. And then the rest of it, you just didn't think it through very well. But,
There was Avatar. I've only seen one clip from the live action Avatar: The Last Airbender, but the second I found out he was the one who directed it, my opinion of him dropped a lot.
it is a very boring
Because
movie.
I am a purist about Avatar. I have an Avatar hat in my closet.
That's
I love
great,
it to
right?
death.
So is
And
she has she makes all the drawings and.
Oh, I love.
Do you think they'll make a Broadway musical of Avatar?
I hope not. I love musicals too.
We're not talking about The Way of Water or
Yeah, no,
Cameron
this is not the.
Avatar.
This is
No.
not
Avatar: Last Airbender.
The Last Airbender, yes.
Yeah,
They
Avatar:
should make
Last
that a
Airbender.
Broadway show.
Listen,
like
I love musicals. I love Broadway. I have playbills all the way up there. But whenever there's a movie or like a TV show and they make a Broadway adaptation, I cringe a little bit.
I'm definitely tired of the idea of like Broadway used to make new shows.
Yeah.
Of new
just
stories.
musical versions of things.
By the way, there is like I was researching the other day for something I'm writing, and I was like, I'll think of it because my memory is shot. Let's not talk about my teen years, but there is Beetlejuice play, but there's something else I saw.
There's Hairspray play. I just saw that.
Yeah, we saw that too.
Yeah.
But there's something else that I was
But
like,
you remember when The Simpsons made fun of it?
Beetlejuice play?
Planet of the Apes.
No, there's
a musical.
I hate every ape I see.
I see from chimpanzee
to
chimpanzee.
Yes. Oh my god.
You finally made a monkey out of me.
I would see
Dr.
that
Zayas,
show.
Dr. Zayas.
Okay, I endorse
Zayas,
that
Dr.
show.
Is there an Evil Dead musical?
There's an Evil Dead musical? My god.
Is
All
there
right,
really, Jason? Is there?
There
an Evil
there
Dead
are a
musical?
couple that I would endorse, but
I
still.
would watch that just to judge it.
Yeah,
Honestly.
absolutely. Hey, they made a Heather's musical, a Carrie musical.
Heather's.
Okay,
That's okay.
okay, Heather's
That's
musical
it.
is
The Heathers.
good. I
that's
just
pretty
got
good.
back into the soundtrack. I love the Heather's musical,
that's a good
and
one.
I will
I'm-
stand on this hill.
Yeah, no,
But I just was amazed that a lot of films from the 80s that we remember were becoming musical. I was like, I think it was Heather's. I was like, what? And then the Beetlejuice. So it was kind of...
There's a lot of untapped material. You could
Spider-Man,
still do
the musical.
Yeah, Chud. They should obviously. There's plenty. They can
I
do.
first knew Heather's as a musical, and I got home, and I was like, wait, there's a movie version of Heather's? And I think my mom facepalmed a little bit.
That's.
I think she died a little bit inside when I said that. I'm pretty sure.
I am a huge
It's like when you
fan
say,
of the Heather's
is it true that
movies.
Paul McCartney was in another band before Wings?
Yeah, that's the way it goes. Yeah. First of all, who's Paul McCartney? Second of all, who's Wayne? What's the
No, they made an Amélie musical, right?
Which
What?
one?
Let
Amélie?
me...
They might have made an Amelie musical.
Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, they throw anything at the wall.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I can
Let's
see
get.
why.
What if
Let's
they
get.
made a
Maybe they could
musical,
do-
I
Dan,
gotta get back
of
to the Man
Penn?
of Glass. The Man of Glass.
Remember
is
that
where we
movie
were.
Penn?
What
Oh,
musicals?
Pin the musical would be amazing. I would definitely see
Penn the musical?
Oh
The
God.
horror
God.
movie. Yeah, just like that's the prize role is to stand in a window like this.
Yeah, it's just...
That's it. It's like Mannequin, only nothing happens.
I have a director who turns every play we do into a musical. Like he'll just add songs willy-nilly,
Oh,
and we're all
man.
sick of it. Like we did Clue in the fall.
And you added a song?
He added 2 songs. He added
I
And
have
dances. We
no
had to
clue
dance.
about you.
no, he did Dead Man's Party and Monster Mash. He added
Oh,
that.
yes.
And then we did Elephant Man just recently.
Oh, that's
He'd
right.
added,
He added a song to Elephant Man?
He added a song to Elephant Man, and he added
Oh,
a dance.
my glory. That's
He added,
amazing.
the song he added was Mad World.
Okay, I get
Around
it.
me, that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, your dad and I worked on the ad that made that a meme. So yes.
Which one?
Mad World on Joe's Mad World.
Oh,
Here, I did it again. I'm sorry, Joe Kaczynski's Mad World.
Yeah.
The for Gears of War. That is
For
the
Gears of
reason that
War.
happened. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Because-
It's our
but-
fault.
Well, what's funny about it is that was because that was it's a cover of Mad World,
Yes.
right? And so when I was in
Tears for Fears.
yeah, I played the original
Yeah.
one in the
No,
No,
studio,
we did the acapella one. We didn't even do the Tears for Fears one. We did the acapella.
Beautiful
Yeah.
song.
right? But
Tears
I
for Fears
did.
one is better.
I
Tears
so
for
I
Fears is
played
one of
the
the greatest
original
bands
one
of
in at DD on the speaker, and they were like, "What is this?" It's like this is the original song.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. And like I played
started-
like what's his name? Gangster's Paradise or what's the
Gangster's Paradise.
not Gangster's Paradise. The original version was done by Stevie Wonder.
No.
Yes.
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 And it's not called Gangster's Paradise, it's called something else, but it's
Yes.
the original version.
And for a moment there, I bet that came across like I was trying to correct you and say it was Yes, the band.
What's
It was
called?
originally by Yes, but no.
Pastime Paradise. That's what
Pastime Paradise. Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
Mom's out. Thanks, Mom.
That's it.
Okay, all right. Let's get to it. So the Man of Glass is always he's stuck in his room, but he's very interesting, eccentric. He seems to know, even though he's stuck in his room because of his medical condition, he seems to know everything that's going on in the neighborhood, everything that's happening, and all the stuff that's going on. Right? He
That was the result of the boy, right?
the young boy at the grocery store, which we'll get to
Yeah.
him in a second. So he's also an important figure. But he watches everything through TV, and he has these video cameras that he's on the clock across the street so that he can see the time,
Yes, right.
which is very interesting. But the relationship he has a relationship with the boy who works at the grocery store, who is also a very famous French actor.
Yes.
And he really does have just one arm in real life. And so he's also, that guy is married to like this woman who is a news anchor in France, and she's like stunning.
That's awesome.
And it was all over the news, like, she is marrying him. Like, they were all just shocked by it. It was a big scandal in France, but he's
Like Rico Kasich and what's her name? Paulina Paraskova.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, good on you, Paulina.
yeah. But he definitely,
talented man.
he's a very good, so he's supposed to be a kind of a kid who works at a grocery store. And the grocer treats him like crap, right? And that's we'll get to that story in a bit. But he brings groceries to the Man of Glass, and he always sneaks in good stuff hidden inside the grocery to have like caviar and champagne and all this stuff because they enjoy spending time together. He's teaching the kid how to paint, and he spends a lot of time with the kid there, and they work together and they're painting. And he paints a Renoir painting like every year, right? Which is, again, turns into part of the story because he keeps saying, I always have trouble with the girl holding the glass. I can't tell what she's feeling. And that is him talking to Amélie about her, right? Very honestly,
100%.
but very
100%.
sweet, right? And she, as I was saying, she always gives these gifts to people, right? So she gives the gifts of the letter to the woman so she can have closure. But for the Man of Glass, she just tapes things that she's seen on TV that seem interesting to her.
Mm-hmm.
And then just gives him a videotape of just random clips of things.
Right.
And that is kind of cool.
Yeah, and it follows essentially the same pastiche format of the rest of the
Microphone.
follows the same pastiche format of the rest of the picture.
Yeah.
So it's another film within a film.
It's another film within a film aspect, right?
Yeah.
So the big thing that she's trying to figure out is, as we're meeting all these different people, is she's trying to figure out where this guy's lived, right? And they're saying, oh, there's a guy who lived here. Someone, the name of the family is Boutreau, and they get it wrong. And so she keeps looking up people in the telephone book, and she misspelled the name, right? So she gets to the wrong person. But eventually, the Man of Glass like, no, you got the name wrong. It's not Boutreau, it's Boutreau, right? And so he's like, oh, right. And so she figures out who the guy is, right? And then the narrator takes us through the whole, here are the things he likes, doesn't like, and here are the things that happen in his life, right?
Picking through the chicken.
The chicken one I love. I don't know why, because
I love that part of the chicken too, by the way.
it's so cool. So that the basic story is that he likes the feeling of when a freshly roasted chicken and how it's still warm, and you can pick out pieces of the warm meat, and it burns your fingers, but it tastes so good.
Yep.
And it just makes me think of wanting to go to Zanku Chicken and getting some chicken.
Well, this is like,
Yeah,
just to throw it in, like that is such a specific feeling. Everyone knows exactly what that feeling is,
Right.
And the movie keeps on doing that, like with the way that she presses her hand into
The comfort of that.
yeah, like
Right.
really tactile.
The
grain, exactly. Where
And
you
they
just
do
go, I
it
know that
sound-
feeling.
And they do this sound too, because she
Yeah.
keeps picking up rocks because she likes to skip him, and then she puts it in her pocket, and you hear the sound of other
That muted
rocks.
clack. Yeah,
And,
clack.
and the marbles.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
marbles. Yeah, exactly. It's an extremely. This is a part of
It's a sensory film.
Yeah, like this is part of the grittiness aspect that I was talking about before. It's not like grittiness bad. It's just very physical. Like as romantic as it seems, it's very rubber meets the road real all the time. It keeps on grounding you and grounding you and grounding you in these little ways. And I think that the hot chicken bit is right on the money, because everyone knows that they go like, and you can feel the heat like going into your fingers, and you're like, oh fuck, I got a second It's great. It's the best.
Right.
They explain it so well. It's really interesting. Like the grain, like the second I was like, oh, I know what that feels like.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, the narration is very clear.
Right. Well, and because the action, as in filmmaking terms, you're attaching the physical to the metaphorical directly. So like the metaphorical world of the movie, which is all like highly romantic and obviously constructed visuals, like it marries this very, very tangible idea to very unreal or spiritual concepts. So it brings those ideas closer to reality for you emotionally as the movie goes on. And so the more it's a mechanism to get you to invest in the wonder of the completely artificial visuals that are being presented, you're taking them as emotional reality because of things like the grain.
Right.
You know, and it's a really, really powerful cinematic tool. And it's one of the best movies to do that in many, many years.
So because of the Amélie cannot do things directly as she does, she has to make everything somewhat theatrical and yet be removed from the situation.
Yeah, step
right?
off the side. Yes, exactly.
Right.
She's
And
like
so-
the man of glass himself. Like
she is, right?
Yeah, right.
And so she in order to try to get to the person, she puts the time capsule in a telephone booth, waits for the guy to walk by the telephone booth, rings the phone, right? So that he will go in there and he picks up the phone. She then hangs up. She doesn't even speak to him. And then he looks down and he sees the box and he's like, what's this? And he opens the box and then this flood of memories, right, come back to him. Very emotional about all this stuff. But we also find out through this process that, you know, he's sort of distanced himself from his family, from his daughter and his grandkid. And there's been this thing that's happened. And at which point, when she hides in a small cafe, Parisian bistro, and he walks in and asks for a cognac, right? Because he's been in shock. And she's hiding with her sunglasses on, big sunglasses on. And she's like, the most amazing thing has happened to me and I just can't explain it. And then he decides, I need to make my life better, right? I need to reconnect with my family. This is important. And
The calling.
right.
It's a strange daughter and everything.
The guy, but are you talking about that line, Chris?
Which one?
He's like, it's a calling, and then the guy behind the counter, the microwave goes off. He's like, look, I have a calling.
That one is yes.
I always love that line.
That's good. That's
Ding! Look, I have a calling.
It's like he was calling for me. It's like, yeah, the microwave is calling for me now.
Ding!
Damn.
There's so much sarcasm. It's amazing.
I love sarcasm.
Well, anything that makes it more like takes all this sort of florid stuff and then makes it real again is good. And I feel like the sensation of achievement unlocked when she figures out who, like as soon as she figures out who it is, and you get this sudden download of information about the guy.
Right.
Like you feel like you literally beat a video game level. You're like, yes, I did it. Like I get all the stuff now. Fantastic. Save. You know.
Right.
And like and it's and that because that's a sort of a physicalized reward, a connection reward.
Right.
You know. And so like here's a brand new story for you to experience because you did the thing.
Right. So the other thing that is funny about it, the other funny story is obviously, remember the guy with the tape recorder in the cafe, really annoying, who's constantly stalking his ex-girlfriend, and then the hypochondriac woman working at the cigarette counter, right? She decides to invent some kind of a story that they're telling each other so that they suddenly start to become interested in each other, which is also very, very funny because unexpected, like suddenly he's not as obsessed about his ex-girlfriend because suddenly something new has happened to him.
Right.
And she's not obsessed about being sick all the time.
Right. And this is a mirror of the concierge story. Right?
Yes.
Like, cause it's semi-invented, and here's a person releasing that former story.
Right.
You know, like he is on track to no longer be a douchebag because of this thing. Like that's what you hope anyway.
Right.
Like it starts that story for you.
Yeah. So it's a pretty good story. Obviously, hilarity ensues in the bathroom and go crazy
Hijinks.
Mm-hmm.
Like they pulled the same. You said they pulled the same kind of. The director pulled the same kind of shot or scene or whatever in Delicatessen as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
With the bed springs.
The bed springs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when the bicycle pump and
Yeah. All the rhyming action. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Editorial rhyming action.
That scene I like, but the scene I like the most in Delicatessen with the bed is when they're trying to find where the source of the squeak is, and it turns into a dance as they're bouncing.
And everybody's yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Okay, and so that's another side story that happens. And then the story of the grocer. Now that's a good one. So what happens with the grocer, Lily?
Essentially, he's very
abusive.
He's not a good. He's abusive.
Mm-hmm.
He's very abusive to the I can't remember his name either. The kid who works for him and essentially just insults him and calls him stupid and all these other things. And the kid has a pretty wounded self-esteem, I would say, probably from prior abuse, and it's only just like kind of trickled down from there. So he doesn't really do anything to defend himself.
Right.
Which the grocer takes to him being an idiot, which it's basically like a cycle where it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Because the kid can't defend himself because he has a low self-esteem, so the grocer picks on him, so he has the lower self-esteem, so he can't defend. It's a whole circle of horrible things, essentially. Mm-hmm. And then Amélie says, all right, I'll intervene by making this guy's life hell. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but like those minor inconveniences that just stack up and just like blow your fuse. Yep. Like his slippers just being too small and the light going out. And...
Well, she sneaks into his house, right?
Which is
she breaks in.
Right.
She breaks into his house and she screws with teeny little details in his house that makes it confusing, right?
Like she pours salt in his whiskey.
Right.
And then like she like switches his foot cream and his toothpaste.
And the doorknobs.
The doorknobs. So that when he wakes up in the morning, everything's all confusing. She lowers the voltage of all of his light bulbs so that it's really dim.
That's a good one. That's pretty funny.
And they all buzz, right? Yeah. They were all buzzing.
They're all buzzing and just not good. And then she takes his slippers and makes them one size too small, like exactly the same slippers, and then so then when he puts them on, his feet are squished. Mm-hmm. And then the final thing is she resets his alarm so that he wakes up at 4:00 in the morning.
And then he gets to work.
He gets to work and he's opening up the grocery store and he looks around and it's like, it's 4:00 in the morning.
Just like rats walking around like, what?
Yeah, that's pretty satisfying.
So, yes, it's satisfying to do that. But it's definitely revenge for what he's doing. Okay, and then the big story, yes, of all these little stories that are going on, the big story is the fact that she's found someone that she's interested in, and she finds him because she sees, what's that?
It's that, I can't, the guy behind us.
Right, that guy. She's found him because she keeps seeing him at photo booths in train stations. Mm-hmm. And he's got a ruler and he's collecting pictures that are discarded from underneath photo booths. And she's kind of, when she sees him, her heart starts beating harder, right? Like with her dad, right? So it was that whole thing. But she can't understand why he's collecting photos and what he's doing, right? And the big thing that happens is that he runs away or something happens and then she ends up finding his photo album that he's been keeping, right? And in the photo album, she looks through all the pictures and she keeps seeing the same guy appear over and over and over inside the photo album. Mm-hmm. And it's a ripped up picture, but he keeps pasting it together and he's there like 8 times or 10 times or something like that.
And he always has like the same expression of
always
like,
has
nothing.
the same expression. He looks completely not
like
smiling.
mugshot. Mugshot.
Yeah. And so she's, what is going on? And she is do that. So she does return her album, the album to him in the most Amélie way possible, where she makes him climb all the way up to the type of Montmartre like he's John Wick 4.
Right.
Right. And then he gets all the way to the top, and then she looks through the binoculars, and then she sees him at the bottom, and she puts the album into his moped. And so he runs down to try to meet her, but she's not there because she already took off. I also think it's kind of funny and ironic that he is a very sweet, kind boy who works at a sex shop.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Which is another sort of like romance versus reality
Right.
combo. Man, I think it's
I love them when
very
they're
sweet.
putting price tags on dildos and just
Yeah, it's just
on the shelf as they're
it's
having
so
conversations.
Fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's really funny. But so
Yeah, the French may be a little more casual about that stuff, but they're still making a point of how
oh yeah,
sort of silly this is. Like,
Yeah.
this is not normally the guy who's like, oh, the sweet guy. You know?
nope.
And
Nope.
he's
And
the
that
sweet
this
guy.
happens in the second movie too.
Right. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, we talked about that, like how different the prostitution laws are in Europe.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole different. They have a very different, less Puritan vision of sex work there than that we do here, where
Right.
it is
You're
demonified.
talking about people who saw a statue of David and got fired from the
Yeah.
school.
Exactly.
It's like, what
What?
is wrong with us?
Yeah, we haven't gotten out of that loop.
What
You didn't
happened?
hear about that? Eric? It
400
happened in
years.
your state.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did they do?
Teacher
The
got fired for showing.
Teacher
a
got
picture of
fired
the
for
statue of
showing a
David.
picture of the statue of David
In-
to her kids in
Yeah.
their classroom.
Yeah, I don't know. For people that are listening, Statue of David is sort of a classic work of art. Maybe
In
the
case you didn't
definition
know.
of it.
Wait, that happened in
In
Oh,
Florida.
God.
Florida.
Of course it was.
What's
Florida.
weird though is like when when I'm what's weird though
Visit
is
Florida,
that
man.
when I first signed up with Pinterest, I got banned.
Really?
Because, yeah, they banned it for me because they complained because I was putting nude photos, but they were studies for drawing,
Yeah,
Right.
and
yeah.
I was like,
we're weird about that stuff. Never had.
yeah, we
never,
are weird.
Never
It's
stopped.
not just
Do you
a
get-
goofy
do you-
state.
Did you
What are
ever
they going
work
to do
with?
about figure drawings? What are they going to do about that? I don't.
I don't know.
They blocked it. They blocked me.
It's
Do you remember
like-
Lyndon, Eric? He used to work at SpeedShape.
Yes.
Yes, he said I did a podcast with him. He said you do the best Carl Cyberg impression ever.
Yes, booby.
So, but he has been on Midjourney a lot. He's completely obsessed with it. So you really should connect with him because he really loves. He loves talking about it, and he's just as nutty about it as you are. But he's done 400,000 or 500,000 images in like a few months, right? But he's been banned from Midjourney several times. Like they keep, like,
Because of nudity. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah,
But what's crazy about that is that because I'm writing doing the graphic novel about a certain time period, but with Alice Cooper, I put in some stuff as a kind of prompt. You use a photo to lead, and it was Alice just with his shirt off and a snake, and I got banned. I got a warning letter.
No snakes.
I was like, what? It was
Well, do you
considered
remember-
Take
pornographic.
offense to that.
Yeah.
I was trying to use
You're talking about no snakes.
I was trying to
I'm outta
use
here.
Midjourney to try to do a picture for promoting. You see, look, we were held message because of
Jason.
sex. Jason again,
What is it?
anti-prawn nudity.
Yeah.
Allow.
That's amazing.
It's always Jason.
Allow. Can't we just say always allow Jason? Don't we know that he's safe by
No,
now?
it's the auto moderator. Anyway,
Oh, God.
it's almost proving the point, which is amazing. But the one that was crap. Oh, so I was trying to do a promo for Fight Club, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, okay, so I'm going to ask Midjourney to give me a photograph of Brad Pitt shirtless holding a martini. And I said banned word. I can't use the word shirtless.
Shirtless.
Yeah.
Shirtless and martini.
Well, that's what Alice was.
Right on.
So it's crazy.
That's like it's like what's
It's a
the
photo
line?
from like Teen Beat in like 1972, and yet it's banned. It's nuts, dude.
We've regressed, unfortunately, with our
You Americans, you're all the same.
in France they don't mind so much. Not so much.
Yeah,
It's they celebrate it. It's good.
well, like, not to go off on one of my standard rants, but like as I'm the one who, if you're interacting with us on Twitter, I'm sure you've seen my the debates that I get into. I try not to get feisty with the huge amount of film Twitter that it's just like there shouldn't be any sex in movies unless it forwards the plot. And I'm just like, oh yes, the plot. Like, dude, I absolutely refuse to see sunsets unless it's part of the mystery.
I think I had this conversation with my mother. Is that like PG-13 where there's guns, blood, and heavy violence? Oh, that's fine. There's one thing of like the like most mild sexual scene, rated R.
R, that's it. Can't have that
R.
stuff. Decapitations, yes.
Fine, that's totally fine. Like, sex is a very natural thing, and then
It's
obviously
why
John
we're
Wick
all
4,
here.
John Wick 4 is that's probably rated R, but that's not the point. John
yeah,
Wick 4,
like, it's far
all
more
the
acceptable.
violence, that's not natural. But
Right.
if it were just the violence, that would be PG-13.
Yes.
The
Or
cooler.
whatever.
Do you remember the cooler? The whole controversy with that film.
Oh yeah.
The cooler.
The cooler with
Bill,
William H. Macy.
Bill Macy. Yeah, that's right.
There was a scene. There was a sex scene, right? And for a little bit, you could see her pubic hair, and that was made it rated X.
It's X. It's not an R. Nobody should see that.
Yep.
If you like, wait, that's it. The human body. My God.
Ah!
Run. Yeah. No. Like that's like I don't know where this came from on film Twitter, but it's the worst. It's the most like I there's plenty of big debates I have, but that is the one where I get the most frustrated the most quickly. And like, because like, you know, I also get into debates about like violence in film and stuff like this, and like that I can be like, all right, I see where you're coming from. Like violence is upsetting, and you know, like we should think about how we represent that if within the context of what we're doing. But America is unique in the world in the way that we represent this. Whereas in Amélie, one of my favorite gags is when you see her sleeping with the dude and the camera's like top down on the bed, and like he's making super weird noises and she's trying not to laugh. Is one of my favorite moments in the entire movie. Like she's like like I don't want to ruin this guy's day.
She has this weird strained smile, and I'm like,
so
oh,
good,
that's
dude.
funny.
Yeah, that's just
I also, when she's on the roof and she's like, she wonders all kinds of things about things like, I wonder how many people are having orgasms right now.
yeah,
and
it's a
she's
great
like,
scene,
boom,
and-
boom,
and she
boom,
just
boom.
does like,
Five people are having orgasms. She goes,
turns the camera
5.
yeah, she's like 15. I was like, this is so
That was
good,
great.
dude. Yeah, no,
That was the other thing. In like the Brand New Testament, there was this like 13-year-old girl sitting next to this like 50-year-old man, and they're watching like a strip show. And I was like, that's a really weird shot, but you know what?
yeah.
She's supposed to be 10. She's supposed to be 10.
Oh, she's
exactly.
10.
Yeah.
And like I'm sure in terms of even in France, in terms of filming that stuff, like it's actually a little bit of trickery, you know.
Right.
But like nobody's freaked out by the image, you know. Like the image is there for a reason, and it's like
And the narration is that she's a different person. And we'll get to that in the story in a lesson, because she's not really a 10-year-old girl, right?
yeah, because like you whenever you're making a movie, you want to be responsible and protect
Child.
actors that are part of the movie.
Well, Jesus, remember Get Out Your Handkerchiefs? That was awkward.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, like that's still the gold standard for. I mean, like if that came out today, there would be arrests. There would be
People would be arrested,
immediate arrests. But like that,
The story in that one is it's a 14-year-old boy who falls in love with a 25-year-old woman.
20, yeah, at least, yeah,
And they have sex and
yeah. And this is not a realistic movie, literally at all. Like that's like,
she gets pregnant, the whole thing.
Right.
I would hope it's not realistic.
Yeah, no. The whole idea is to be as sort of challenging and offensive and ridiculous as it possibly can, because it is a farce.
Right.
But I think that in film today, in America only, we have we've locked ourselves into the idea of film is real. Like stories must be real stories about real things, and you shouldn't show certain things because this is. I'm just like, film has never been real. It is entirely false. It's a put on.
Especially now with like all the censorship that's going on. Mm-hmm. Like there was a teacher, I don't remember where, there was a teacher who got arrested for showing like a Disney movie.
Yeah.
What?
And everyone was like, there's a gay character.
There's a gay character. Yeah, exactly. Disney, like, that was the first.
And they're like, she's indoctrinating the children. No,
God. Don't show them things that exist in real life. Like people in love. That's terrible.
That's banned in my school. To Kill a Mockingbird is banned in my school, and that was.
Yeah, someone's got to explain that.
I don't remember if it was based off a real story, but I wouldn't be surprised if something like it happened in real life.
It was banned in your school?
This stuff gets me. This stuff gets me riled.
I got to go see it in like California. Like that's a little surprising because especially where I live, it's very we don't like ban everything willy-nilly. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry was banned. That was banned after I read it. That's a story about times of like segregation. I would guess 40s-ish time period. Yeah. I read it in 7th grade. It was about the main characters were this like black family who was, you know, doing little like mainly younger, like the children were like doing little acts to like fight the system. And it was a really good book, and it was banned because they say the N-word in it. And then so it was like To Kill a Mockingbird, that was banned because they say the N-word in it. And we went to go see it at the Pantages. My drama teacher, he found like loopholes to like have us actually go as a field trip. Yeah. And he was like, guys, be mature. This is very important.
Because we talked about this last week, the French Connection, where they've edited the French Connection for similar language when it's about a bad person, like, and the idea is to show that he's bad. But like it's all this stuff is really well-meaning, but it is contrary. The ultimate effect is to make things worse. Like and to rob the world of something as powerful as To Kill a Mockingbird, simply because you don't have the courage to talk to your students about the context and like frame it so this is as important as it is. Like it's bizarre to me.
It's so powerful. Yeah. It's so powerful on stage. Like I was sitting there doing this the whole time. Yeah. Like there was a scene where people came out in white hoods, and there was just a gasp. Like there was so much tension. Yeah, it should be tense. Obviously,
like that's what you should feel.
Horrifying. Yeah. And my friend mentioned like, oh, what if we did that as one of our plays, like as a joke? And I was like,
yeah, it's like, you mean you're asking for
don't do that with high schoolers.
Yeah, that it was gonna be like because like the thing is like I fully believe in. Like even in showing movies on HBO or whatever it is, you know, or whatever's left of HBO these days, like putting up something like a card with text that gives the potential viewer some sort of context for what they're about to see. I'm all for it. Just like they put up the rated R for nudity, sexuality, blah, 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 violence, etc. Like just to give a little warning and a little context for what you're about to see, whatever it is. I think that's totally appropriate, and that's a very grown-up thing to do. What I don't think is a grown-up thing to do is to go, oh my God, that's an awful word. We should definitely hide that from everybody. No matter what the power of the story was, no matter what you could possibly learn from To Kill a Mockingbird, we're throwing it out the window. Like, that's bad news. And
they actually put one of those warnings on Lady and the Tramp that was like, this movie promotes a kind of racism that was popular with old Disney. We do not condone those actions. It was the Siamese Cats.
Sure. It's the Siamese Cats.
We don't condone that racism now. And I was like, that's an interesting thing to do.
I get it. It's like, it doesn't interrupt as long as that's like before the movie gets shown, I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think it's fine. Like, it's just like, contextualize this. You're going to see some stuff. It's old. There you go.
What was the warning you saw the other day? A dislikable character?
Oh, God, yeah.
That was a warning.
This is the kind of stuff where I'm just, don't want to get into that thing.
We got to finish Amélie because we still have to do the brand new Testament, and we're already halfway.
Just quickly, don't do this. Tell me, what dislikable character?
No, it was
we talked about this last time.
Yeah.
We did?
You did.
And I forgot.
All right. Don't worry about it.
It's okay.
Amélie. Let's go with Amélie.
Amélie.
What a film.
So what a picture.
What a picture. What a picture.
What a picture.
Yeah. Right.
But anyway, so the thing that happens with her is that she is slowly falling in love with the boy. She goes and stalks him quite a bit. She goes to his other work where he plays someone who scares people in a haunted mansion kind of thing. Right? And that was
Scare actor, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of amazing. Mm-hmm. Her acting there is like her thrill and fear at the same time. It's just kind of wonderful. And then finally, she figured out the secret of the picture of the guy in the book. The picture, because what she did is that's right. That's why he forgot the book. He saw the guy with the red sneakers, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's the guy. And she's running after the guy to try to figure out who he is. Mm-hmm. And that's why he forgot the album, and that's why she picked it up. Right. So that's how she figures out this whole drama. Yeah,
thing. She's chasing him, and he's chasing the dude.
Dude.
Right. And the punchline to that story is seals the deal on the movie for me. Like, I think that's one of the best, most symbolic moments in the movie when you find out who the last guy is and what he's doing.
The guy with the red sneaker.
Yes.
Because it feels like it's a big mystery, right?
Yeah, I know. And then at the end, it's like,
answer.
Yes. So we make up this.
We make up this whole.
We made up a story
about him in our heads of who he is.
Right.
And she goes, I figured it out.
Yes.
And like, what is it? He's the repairman for the.
Yes. He is the repairman for the photo thing. And so
he takes a test photo to make sure it's working.
Yes. And this is that is God in the movie. Right? That is, it turns out it's real. When you just go, oh, it must be something magical and what? Oh, it's real. And all of the wonder and thrill and spirituality and belief and investment and feeling that I have it doesn't reside with whoever this mystery person is. It resides in me. The power and wonder of the world and how I see it is in me.
Right.
And that's
like
the ta-da of the movie.
We also have this, we build up all these things in our minds when really it could just be a simple answer.
It's very simple. Like the beauty that like the mystery.
Someone
and the
is saying all these horrible things about me. It's like, it turns out
that's a story.
They didn't.
Yes.
And you built it up in your mind.
Yeah. It's my favorite David Foster Wallace quote of you'd be you'd be a lot less worried about what people think of you if you knew how little they did.
Yep.
Like that is there's all these characters build up these massive stories, and then when they get deflated, they're either hurt or saved.
Right.
And I think that the movie is constantly trying to bring reality and the romantic vision, the idealization of that reality together, so that you understand that it's under your control. Because it's like Anna and I talk about this all the time. The idea of the third mountain, right? It's like the first mountain. Like, say you want to go climb Mount Everest. The first mountain is you have a poster of Mount Everest and you've read all the books about Mount Everest and climbing it, and you're like, it's so wondrous and mystical and magical. And look at this photo with the sun through the snow and blah 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 blah. You've never actually gone to Mount Everest, right? The second mountain is you're on Mount Everest. And
you're at a camping store,
and you're just like you're on Mount Everest. Your fingers are frozen. You feel like you're going to puke from being in so much pain. The wind is incredibly biting, and everything is completely awful. That's the second mountain. The physical reality of the mountain. And then the third mountain is both of those two things together. Like that is the actuality.
Airlifted out.
Airlifted out, right? The beauty is real, but you don't separate those into grim reality and hyper romanticism. You put them over each other. That's what you really experience, and that's what this movie just constantly reemphasizes.
Right. So she sets up another giant Rube Goldberg thing to finally let him know that she figured out who it is, even though they haven't really met yet.
Right.
He keeps trying to figure out who she is because she keeps leaving him notes and doing strange things. And she comes to the coffee shop. She meets him. He meets her. And he's like, is this you? no.
Right. Right.
She can't even do that, right?
And I think even then he's like, this is you.
It's you.
This is you, though.
she's just like Zorro.
And I'm only
in a-
saying that because it's you.
And then she's confronted by the man in glass. Like, why is the girl with the glass? Can't she open up or do this? And what can she do? You know?
Right. Exactly.
And so, anyway, she sets up this whole thing where she breaks the machine and then gets him to show up at the photo booth. And then just as the guy shows up to fix it, and then he now knows the secret as well, that it's a repairman. But eventually they do kind of meet and they fall in love, and everything. She is finally allowing herself to be to enjoy her life for who she is, as opposed to just fixing everyone else's life.
Right. Exactly. Because this is what I have done, and what everyone I have ever known that does to some extent is like, you have a problem you're trying to solve, or I have a problem I'm trying to solve, and so I don't solve it here. I solve it all over here. And it's like, you know what you should do?
Yes.
You know, I have that same problem, so you should fix it in your life by doing this. I'm not going to actually do that, but I can watch you do it.
Right. So it's a very sweet and good film. Loved it. Lee's seen it many, many times. But I do want to talk about the Brand New Testament, because that is something that is crazy. Now, Lily, you hadn't seen it. You just heard about it, right?
Where did you hear about this movie?
So I watch a lot of like those like movie recap videos on
Got it.
YouTube, and I mainly watch them for heavy horror movies because I
Yeah.
love horror movies, but sometimes I can't sit through them because they freak me out because
Because
they're horror movies. Yes.
Exactly.
And I came across that one, and they always have very like misleading or crappy thumbnails, but I clicked on it and I watched it and I was like, oh, this is really interesting, and I stopped watching it and I like looked at the synopsis and ratings and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I just stopped thinking about it for a while, and then I eventually asked, like, Dad and I were trying to find a movie or something, and I said, oh, I heard of this movie, The Brand New Testament. It's Belgian and I think it's in French, but basically it's about God in a wife beater and an open bathrobe.
That's
I'm
so
in.
Chris.
It's so I'll just give a very quick premise of the thing so people have an idea of what this is. It's literally God is alive, lives in Belgium in a crappy apartment with his wife who he abuses and his daughter. His son, Jesus Christ, is kind of not there, right? But
He left,
kind of
yeah.
is there. He left, right? But he is a complete asshole and is controlling everything that's going on in the world. And we'll get to the story of how this all happens. But I'm curious, Eric, what was your reaction when you saw this film?
I think that's what brought up this whole after pre and post 9/11. There was an anger to it,
Yeah.
an oppressed anger that even though it kind of, I saw it's, similar in some ways, but the setup, the distance the narration was and the way they positioned you as the audience member to this world, I felt was very similar to Amélie.
Yes.
It's just there was a layer, if you know what I'm saying. But I respond more visually, and so I can decode movies visually and then get some thematic out of it. Whereas Dan is just, you can go in and isolate and analyze, and it's awesome.
Often for 20 or 30 minutes straight without anybody else talking.
That's okay. It's okay
love
for
you
me.
anyway.
But the point is that there was an anger to some of the punch. There was an anger to it.
Oh, yeah.
That I felt violence, and I was like, it's kind of as if they never really looked for closure.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a great point. That's really nicely said.
Right?
That's really nice
Like
to
there's
say.
always a closure in letting just the world kind of heal. There, it's like I'm controlling things. And
Well, this person clearly did not like religion.
I know,
Yes.
but
Yes.
there's a certain thing where I know a lot of people. I was, I was raised religious in a religious family, and I went away to an all boys boarding school at church every morning, 7 days a week. But I'm not a religious person, but I'm a spiritual person. I respect everybody's boundaries, whether they're Jews or Muslims or Catholic, any Mormons, I respect their perception of what is something greater.
Of course,
and
right.
100%. And even atheists, that's their religion, is not believing in God. That's fine. But I just, there's an anger to it because you have to, as my grandmother always used to say, wear the cloak of life lightly. My grandmother from Brooklyn. And that's true as I get older. You just can't clench it. And I think, and I'll stop, Chris, in a second. Jerry Seinfeld did a thing, Comedians in Cars, and he went to Michael Richards and see him.
Yeah.
And he basically, and I think I said this before, he's like, I think you need to put that suitcase down. And he's like, it's so hard, Jerry, about what his screw up he did, and it's just, but it's like, yeah, just put it down. Yep. And, but yeah, there was an anger in it, which is, I guess, works thematically, but it also, when all the edges are hard, it's you're looking for an angle where you can comprehend it. If the sculpture is like a Richard Chamberlain, where it's just massive metal, it's hard to interpret a shape in a way than it is another type of sculpture. If you know what I'm saying, it sounds strange.
I think that really grabs it. I think because I'm this is a very interesting movie to me, and I think that framing it in 9/11 is a really interesting way to put it. But I think you really, because I don't think I'm without. I don't not have issues with this movie, but it made me think. I think it made me think very hard about what works and what doesn't work in this kind of a thing. And I think that a lot of it's very beautiful, but it's a much more. There's an anger and a bitterness to that movie that was unexpected.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and I think it's actually, as much as the movie wants to pretend it's resolved, it is actually quite unresolved.
It's missing a third act. Yeah,
it is because the ending, I was like that,
but it doesn't want you, because once they bring the gorilla in, they don't want you to come to any resolution or be serious.
I love that I will always be able to refer to this movie as the movie where Catherine Deneuve sleeps with the gorilla. Like, that is amazing.
That's basically what her agent said to her, but in French.
Catherine.
So you sleep with a gorilla. I've never done that.
It'll be. I've done all the French New Wave.
That's
I was
right.
considered the greatest beauty of all of France,
yes,
and now I get to sleep with a gorilla.
Finally,
I'm on this.
Crowning achievement in French film.
You know who he reminds me of, the filmmaker? And I thought it was a good film. Don't get me wrong, really wonderful film. But like I said, there were these edges to it, and there was something underlining that was not seeing life as a whole. There's absurdity in life, but there's a thing where the characters, maybe I'll say this right, the characters had an edge to them, as though they had never, wanted to have closure, like I referenced earlier. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, the filmmaker didn't either.
Yes.
So it's all these angry views framed by somebody with anger, which doesn't. You need this kind of something else to show the contrast. And when you say, you know what, fuck you, I'm going to give a gorilla in here, then it's like, okay, now you're just playing around. It's Lars von Trier. You're just screwing around.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, because
you're screwing around with me because you're smart and arrogant, and you say screw you or fuck you. I don't want to say right. And that was it. That was the finger to me, and it's like, okay, I get it. But
before we go on, I think we should set a little context for what this movie is, because nobody has seen this movie. I guarantee nobody in the audience has seen this movie.
2015 is when it was came out.
Yeah.
I had never heard of this movie.
Never heard of it.
And so before we dig into it, I want to say thanks to you guys, thanks to you, Lily, for first of all, picking a movie I've never heard of is
hard to do.
It's pretty hard.
All three of us have never heard of it.
This is pretty great.
And then you look at a movie like this and you're like, this is something I probably should have been aware of.
Yeah, like this is definitely worth talking about, and I think that it's I think there's really beautiful moments and things in this. A lot of the filmmaking is really great, but I also very much agree with Eric. Like there's there's something. What is truly fascinating about this movie is, in comparison to Amélie, it's very, very revealing of the things about what is going on for the filmmaker. And I think that's very true. So the setup of this thing, for everybody who has not seen this, which is our entire audience, is that God is a horrible, abusive old man.
Middle-aged man.
Leaning
guy in a
over,
wife beater, an open robe, sweatpants, socks with sandals, the whole thing.
He is hideous and hateful in every possible. He's an odious personality who beats his kids. Like, he's awful.
His wife is completely just a shell of a person.
Yes,
and she is played by the same woman who played the concierge in the
concierge. Exactly.
Right.
And God has total control over everything in the universe. He has total control via this old sort of shitty PC, and he types commands into the computer to design the world. And so there's at its root, the filmmaking is
he's sadistic.
He's sadistic. Yeah, he's taking out his own anger capriciously on the things that he has created.
Right. He has no power outside of the computer. Like, he can't do the whole like walk on water into wine thing that Jesus did. Right. He is completely powerless without this crappy computer.
He finds no beauty in anything he does. He's doing everything bitterly, vengefully, and with complete disdain, and finds it funny when people suffer.
He writes the laws, and the laws are all things that make life...
Like toast falls jam side down, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Or the line next to is always moving faster. Or, like all of these...
No matter what. Yeah, exactly.
Or the person you're in love with will never love you back. Like those kinds of...
Right. And so like the this is the universe as it's designed by this guy, right? This guy. And you see the creation of the universe in the same way that Amélie presents, builds its world.
The creation of the universe is he makes Brussels.
He makes Brussels, yeah.
It's just Brussels. It's just
first there was
Brussels.
Right.
It's like, it's not Eden, it's Brussels.
And there's some...
And just fills it with animals.
Yeah, there's great imagery.
No, he tries different things. Like, he's like, oh, it's just going to be chickens. So like suddenly there's just the population is all chickens, and there are chickens in the movie theater looking at movies of chickens.
Yes. This is my favorite stuff in the movie. It's just like, it's so excellently bizarre, and then like giraffes walking through the street and all this otherworldly visuals. And there's plenty of that to come in this movie, but I liked it most when there was almost no context. Like, I was just like, well, it's kind of beautiful. Like, Chicken World is sort of wild. Like,
you watch that shot of like a tiger sitting in a hotel room watching TV,
just chilling. It's just like,
having the time of his life.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good tiger time. And so that's what he doesn't even see. God does not see the beauty in any of this. Like, it's just sort of random. And he's once he creates humans, he's contemptuous and just screws with them at every possible turn and hates them. Right. He also hates his kids, which are Jesus Christ, who ostensibly JC, who has run away. But he hasn't actually run away. He's just become a miniature statue of himself that the mother keeps in the house. So it's
he did run away.
Well, he did run away. This is true.
He ran away. He died, and now he's a statue that is technically sentient, but no one knows about except for the daughter.
Except for the daughter. And so like the statue comes to life, and it's still statue sized, but ends up talking with our main character. The main character is Ia, and that
She's
is
a 10-year-old girl. So everyone talks about God's son, but they never talk about his daughter. His daughter.
And he is the main character we're following, as she is sick of her father's actions and cruelty, and by talking with JC, works out this plan so she can go to Earth and change everything for everybody. And
she wants to. He's very abusive, and he literally beats her with a belt.
He literally beats her.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible.
Oh, that was such a heartbreaking scene.
Yeah, and one of the a very nicely done scene directorially.
Yeah,
like
she goes
they
into
don't
the
actually
closet.
show the.
I like that aspect, but I didn't like the.
They just show him doing this.
Yeah, and it makes it like to me that's way more.
And he says
visceral.
The things that really abusive people say all the time. He's like,
look at what you're making
how
me
you
do.
made me. You see how you made me.
You see what you made me do. Yeah.
Right.
And
this dude is giving over like props to the guy playing God, because it's such a committed, unlikable performance the entire time. Like he is just like,
I know nothing else that he's done, and
Yeah.
if I ever see anything else that he's done, I'm just going to think of him as
actually
God.
a VFX
as the
supervisor.
evil god. Yeah, exactly.
He's a VFX supervisor.
He's a VFX supervisor. Yeah, like he's and like I'm sure he gets mean looks in the streets of Brussels when he now tries to get work. But yeah, so like she comes up with this plan. She breaks in.
Well, the thing I think it was cool, the way that they do that scene is like it's like I said, it's a horrible scene. It beats her. He leaves the screen. Then she comes out, and she looks distraught, but she's like, yeah.
So this is what happens.
So this is
Yeah,
what happened.
this
And
is
then
all
they
of that.
change the lighting completely in the background, right? Like all the background goes black, and then
Like
she's in the
theater.
spotlight.
Fox
Yeah,
theater.
she's forefronted as separate.
That was what I really noticed, was that this whole thing is being told by her in the past tense.
Yes, right.
Right.
And the whole thing was like her actually speaking is just her sitting there with like a spotlight on her, and
Right.
she's the narrator of this whole story, and she's telling it like it happened like 2 weeks ago or something.
Right.
Right.
And yeah, and so the so this
The
is
first thing she wants to do is she wants to mess up his world. She wants to have revenge on him because of the way she was treated.
Right.
So she wants to mess up his role as God and not have anyone trust or fear him anymore.
right.
Right?
Yeah.
And the way that she does that is she sneaks up on him, grabs his key, gets into his office, right?
Where his special computer lives.
Where his special computer lives.
Right.
And she sends out a text message to everyone on the planet that tells them the exact amount of time left they have to live.
Right, down to the 100th of a second.
Right.
They don't tell them how,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah,
tells
tell them
them
how.
that
He's
they
like,
You have
will.
15 years, 6
Right.
days, blah 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 to live.
Yeah.
That's it. Right.
And I love the one of the woman, like they're all getting this news and it's like, you have 56 years, you have 12 and this one woman, she's in a bathtub. And
She's like 2 minutes.
2
2
minutes.
minutes. She unplugs the hair dryer. She's
dryer.
like trying to keep from
Yeah,
dying.
no, don't do that. And then she's like, oh, these things on the shelf are a little too high. And then the entire armoire falls on top
Yeah.
of her.
That's the best one of the
there's-
whole film.
Yeah, like there's multiple instances where the fact that they discovered what the date was causes their death. Like
Right.
that is the mechanism
That
of their
was
death
it.
is
That
knowledge.
The
was
one
what
he
I
was
was
reading his
thinking
text
about.
message and he gets hit.
Yes, exactly. 3, 2, 1, bang. Yeah. You know, and so like I think that's the stuff, like that's all the stuff that I like. The setup is really clear. Like it's almost like Hollywood movie script clear. Like it was just
Right.
like this is a great gag.
It almost feels like an M. Night Shyamalan thing, man.
Yeah, it's really
know?
well. It's in a good
You'll
way.
know
Where
the
it's
exact
it's a
moment you
very
die.
clean setup, you know, in
Right.
terms of a good storytelling device. And she's going to, and they even sort of give like Amélie is a little bit is loosey goosey in how it does this, but it's essentially the same thing where she's like, and I will get 6
be
more
right back.
apostles to create a brand new testament for the human race, right? Because like
Specifically 6, because like 12, which is Jesus' apostles, plus her new apostles, is going to be 18, like a baseball team.
Like a baseball
because
team,
her
like
mother
Mom
loves
likes.
baseball.
exactly. And so like that, like all
I
like
love the Death Note comparison. That's funny.
yeah, that's a good call. That's a very good call.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's the like man, it's like it is just to bring it up right on Death Note. Death Note, it's amazing how much mileage you can get out of the simplest gag if you think it through.
Mm-hmm.
Like Death Note is just like endless iterations on what this means. And there's go ahead.
No, sorry, continue.
Yeah, like, and I think that is the, like, that is when I hear like a really, really, like I just saw, for instance, I'm about to shred a movie, which I rarely ever do. I saw Renfield with Nicolas Cage, and I love Nicolas Cage, and I love Nicholas Hoult, and I love the concept. As soon as I heard the concept for Renfield, I was like, yes, let's do this.
Yeah, it was okay.
And it was, I'm going to say, terrible. That was not just, it was the fact that it was okay is one of the biggest disappointments you could
yeah.
possibly have.
It for a movie that should have been better than okay.
Like, it gave me a shitty Cinemax cop movie instead of doing anything with its premise literally at all, like at all.
Right.
You know, a vaguely middle of the road TV movie where you have all this power and this incredible concept and you do like literally nothing at all with it. And it's so irresponsible.
Where did you see it?
I rented it If I had seen it in the movie theater, I would have been arrested for screaming in the street.
What
I
is
was
the
so
Renfield? Is that the one where
So-
they hire him as the movie actor?
No, that's also
is-
not that's a great performance. That movie's a great performance.
It's a good performance.
Yeah.
It's the unbearable weight of being.
Weight of massive talent.
Yeah.
The unbearable weight of massive talent.
Yes. Right. And so
That's a good one.
yeah, and like that's, I mean, like if you love Nicolas Cage, that's the ride to go on. Like if you're into it, like that's just a celebration.
I'm not. So
Yeah. So there it is. There it is. If you don't love Nicolas Cage, see
I loved him
Mandy.
in basically.
Moonstruck.
No, didn't like him in Moonstruck. I only like him in Rockin' Good.
the one we did.
HI.
Wild at Heart.
No. Oh, okay. Wild at Heart, Raising Arizona.
Coen Brothers, Raising Arizona.
Right. And we also liked him in the Kathleen Turner time travel movie.
Yes.
What?
Yeah. We covered it on the Martini Giant. What's the name of it?
Which
Francis Ford Coppola directed it.
Oh, that's a
Sally,
really good one. That's
Debbie Lou.
No,
Yes. On
Peggy Sue Got Married.
Peggy Sue Got Married.
That's
There you
it.
go. But yes.
Close.
I would add to your list, you should see Pig and Mandy.
I've seen
Mandy.
Pig.
Yeah.
I like
these
Pig.
These are brilliant movies. However, Renfield's
interesting.
Renfield is pure poison. It's awful, and I'm embarrassed for everybody who's associated with that movie. So
Don't
there's
hold
the pull
back,
quote
Dan.
for you,
How do you feel
Universal.
about it?
However,
Jeez.
before I have some critiques about this movie that are in the same sort of ballpark, but I'm on Eric's side where I'm just like, it isn't that they don't make use of they make maximal use of the setup, and there's incredible imagery in this movie, and I recommend it, but I really recommended watching it with Amélie. Like, I think that's actually an important part of appreciating this movie because of what Eric said. One is made by these are the same movie. One is made by a filmmaker who has come to peace, and one is made by a filmmaker who has not.
That is very good. That is very true.
So that's like, this is like, so anything I say is not Renfield criticism. It's like, this is a really interesting, struggling artistic experience,
Right.
because the person who made this movie is super pissed off. Like,
Yeah.
it's like if I made a movie about Renfield today, it would be like this. Like, I am mad and I'm going to make a movie about how mad I am. And so that's why in the end, like I said, like, it doesn't feel unresolved. Like, the ending to me not only feels unresolved, it feels weirdly like it was made by the evil god, like forcing me into this world I may or may not want, and I was like, this is not fully emotionally thought through.
It's not. It's a high production value on this.
Oh yeah, 100%. Big.
This is
backing
not an
film.
indie film.
Yeah.
There's a lot
No.
of
Yeah.
yeah.
You have a gorilla.
There's a
Catherine Deneuve.
like, when it got to that, I was like, okay, I'm there. I'm with you.
Yeah, when he said, I knew about the gorilla thing, and when he said, like, when the credits were rolling, or the beginning credits were going, he goes, "Oh my God, she's like the Meryl Streep of Belgium." I was like, "Oh no, is she
France.
the one that?"
Yeah.
Whatever.
No, yeah. She is
The
French.
Meryl Streep
The
of
movie
Europe.
is Belgian. Yes.
Right, the Meryl Streep of Europe.
Yes.
And my first thought was, she's the one that falls in love with the gorilla, isn't
Yeah.
she?
That's the way. If I had Meryl
That's all good.
Streep, I'd get the gorilla. I'd rent that gorilla costume.
I listen. I 100% agree with you that the anger that's involved in this film,
Yeah.
the fact that it's missing an ending, but I love films that have absurdities to them.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah.
right.
Absolutely. Completely. Go ahead.
And they also do the similar thing to Amélie, where she's going to find her 6 apostles, right?
Yes. Right.
And so as you do that, there's a strong narrative behind each one, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very similar to Amélie, where you find out their whole backstory as you go
Yes.
through this process.
And so it's essentially a collection of short character stories that are intertwined as
There was even one where she made 2 of them fall in love. Like, there's even that.
exactly
That happens.
Exactly. And so I'm sure that the guy who made this is a big Amélie fan. Right. There's like nods
Microphone.
There's nods to Amélie in this movie, and there's like very specific filmic nods all over the place. And specifically, I sent you guys this one in Discord.
Oh yeah.
There is
Yeah.
there is a reference to a movie
Stalker.
that is that is a much more like that is actually the movie that this guy.
100%. There's no
is-
way he could not have done
Like-
that scene. There's a scene, Lily, remember, where she makes the milk cups go on the table.
She moves
Yeah,
him
when
psychically.
she makes it slide over.
Stone cold from the end of Stalker.
It's from the end of the movie Stalker.
Yeah, and
It's
Stalker
exactly.
Stalker is an angry, sad movie about how blighted the world has become, and so this guy is trying to make Amélie out of Stalker.
Yeah.
And it's these are contrary flavors, and so that's where the tension of the film comes from, and it's also sort of the issues I have with the film. And I first of all recommend everybody see Stalker. It's literally one of the best movies ever made. But once I saw that shot, I was like, I'm glad I know what that is, because it helps me understand where he's coming from.
What he's trying to do.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Okay, so she goes to find her. She escapes the apartment by putting
Through a
in,
washing machine.
Through a washing machine. Excellent.
which reminds me a little bit of Glitch.
Which is literally directly from Glitch. I was like, how did I rip this off without
That's
seeing
right.
it? For everybody else, it's a short film that I'm just about to release that has a lot of the same sort of like crazy, like
You set
weird
the
shit
dial
happening.
on this and that on the thing, and then suddenly
like
a
directly-
tunnel to the
I was like,
outside will appear.
and it's in a laundromat. It's this. I was just like, oh, great. Now everyone's gonna think I'm Belgian. But yes, yeah, that's it's a great scene. It's really funny, and I love how like long. It's like, imagine if you took she gets there through the washing machine and come through the washing machine at God's house and comes out in a laundromat, right? And the tunnel between is like an 800-mile long washing machine roller, you know. And so,
Yeah, it takes her a couple hours to get through the whole
exactly.
thing.
And so she's like crawling and crawling and crawling and crawling. And then when he goes after her, like
He's much bigger.
He's this fat dude. He's like trying to squeeze through this thing, and that's like you can't get better than that. Like grouchy old man trying to pull himself through it, a mile-long metal tube. That's a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pissed off.
Yeah, it's really
That was great.
They
though.
both ate a burger out of the trash, except one of them. It's like bad ending versus good ending. She
Yes.
got beat up by a gang, and she
Exactly.
got like advice from a homeless man.
Right. Exactly. But
Well-
yeah. So go ahead, please.
So she gets through, and she's experiencing the real world, right? And it's raining, and she's excited about rain and all this different thing. She tries to eat a burger out of the trash can, and she's very excited about that, but ends up throwing up. And then
It was in the trash can.
because it was in the trash can.
There's no way from that to not make me feel actually ill when I watch it. Any movie at all. I'm just like, all right.
It's horrible.
Like I'll watch the aforementioned decapitations, no problem. Eating a burger out of the trash, I'm running. Instant reaction.
So how did you feel about the eclair scene in Seinfeld?
No, I'm 100%. What are you doing? It's past the magic barrier. Yeah, it's
George is at a party, and he sees an eclair.
Oh,
It's in a. It's
it was
on
above the rim.
But it's
yeah, that's as bad as that's only topped by the toothbrush in the toilet being hidden.
Ugh.
Like when you just go like, "No, I can't watch this now. I can't watch this now. I can no longer watch any episode of the show.
There's something about the gastrointestinal system that in horror movies, when it's utilized, makes its whole audience uncomfortable.
It rings. It's like
think like Human Centipede uncomfortable.
yeah,
with
exactly, dude. Yeah, exactly. that kind of stuff. I mean, like because I'm broken in my head. Like I still intentionally watch movies with this kind of stuff because it makes me feel awful. Like I'll watch a horror movie and I'll be like, "That is horrifying. Everyone should see this. It's amazing." And meanwhile, I'm like vomiting.
Human Centipede. Do you remember when
the first
Carl
one's
was
quite
really
good.
into Human Centipede? He was like kept talking about it.
That's
nonstop.
an excellent B movie. That's a really good B horror.
It is a very interesting film.
Yeah.
Are
that's
you
good.
serious?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's
The
it's a
Japanese
total-
one?
No.
No.
It's what?
It's German.
German. Yeah. Of
What year?
course. It's 2002. Yeah. It's been a while. There are
2001?
3 of them now, and
No, 2011.
Yeah, and it's like
2011. Yeah. So one of the guys from my acting class in LA was one of the Centipede guys.
Oh, that's great. Like, if you want to see a really
That was
trashy...
like-
The first one is really good. The other two are terrible.
Well, yeah, the other two just take the joke too far. Like, they just revel in the nastiness, and then it stops being a movie.
Right.
And whereas because the second one tries to become basically an art film commentary on what you're doing by watching this. And I get what they're doing, but I get it in the first like 2 or 3 minutes, and it doesn't have anything else to say, and it's just nasty. But the first one is just like, you know what's fun? Really nasty horror. And they just make a fun movie. It's nasty as hell.
And
But
the
that's what
guy,
you're there for.
the bad guy is just...
Oh, he's like, it's Dieter Laser. The guy's name is Dieter Laser. Like, how can he's like Nazi accent, not German accent, Nazi accent. You know, it's the last we will do this crazy thing. Like, I'm in.
You will be my middle.
Yes, my family is German, and there's a difference between sounding German and sounding like Dieter Laser. Like, that's a whole different scene. But yes, so like this movie was very effective at doing what Amélie does, which is like combining the visual with the physical reactions. They do that a couple of times, both in very good feeling ways and a couple of bad feeling ways. But I think that guy's a very skilled filmmaker, both counts.
So the first thing she needs a writer, because she can't write.
A scribe, yeah.
A scribe.
Yeah, she never learned how to read or write.
Right.
Which is funny because she can use the computer and she did all that stuff. But that doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's fantasy.
Maybe
It's
she
fine.
can read. I don't think she can write though. I don't know.
She can't write. So she asked the homeless guy to help her. He's like, "You're going to be my writer. You're going to write down all the stories." He's like, "I can sort of write, but I'm dyslexic." So
Yeah. And he didn't have a cell phone, so he doesn't know when he's going to die.
it's like,
Right.
yeah, that's the other. He's like, "Do you know when you're going to die?" He's like, "No, I don't have a cell phone."
Right.
I don't.
Like him squinting as he's trying to write that was such a funny little
And asking
because like
how
while
to
she was
spell words.
talking to yeah
And they're telling their very, very personal stories. Like, how do you spell that?
Yes. Yeah, that's a good gag. Yeah, and I really, in particular, I really liked that actor. Like the guy
he
who
was
playing.
very good.
Yeah, he had really a charming look to him, and he played it in this very gentle way that was welcome in that movie. Like it was
Yeah, like the
respite
whole
every
thing
time I
of
saw it.
like her following him around and he's like, "Stop following me! What are you doing?" And then like the next scene is him holding her on his back as they're walking.
It's a
and I was
great,
like,
that's a
"Oh."
beautiful cut. You're right. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, it's like that very quickly endeared him to me, and it was very, very effective. I like that quite a bit.
Right. Oh, also, she randomly picked 6 people out of a drawer in her
Yeah,
father's
she
office.
he has like files all over the walls, and she just opens one like,
Oh, well,
and those are her scribes. Just those.
I've heard. Now our background is the office. There you go.
There we go.
Hey.
File cabinets. Beautiful.
Okay.
So she just picks 6 people, and yeah, I guess they needed something. It was weird. It's like, yeah, I had 12 because that's how many people you have on a hockey team.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
And it's like if you pick 6, mom is obsessed with baseball. That's 18. I didn't know there's 18 people on a baseball team. Maybe there is 18 people. I don't know. Anyway,
The whole thing was he was like, listen,
No.
12 scribes. And he made this funny little like Judas poke. He was like, 12 scribes, it got a little messy.
They got a little messy. Hey,
You know.
it's not perfect.
So maybe
Can't
go
count
with
on
a smaller
everybody.
number.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I think it's because you have 9 players on a team on the field, and 2 teams make up 18. So if you're talking about the entire baseball game, it is 18 people on the field. I believe that's the case. I'm not a sports person.
Really?
That's my guess. I don't know.
anyway, so
Ask me about sports.
like-
I'll tell you if I know what it is.
So the other thing that's funny is that with every disciple that she finds, or apostle, sorry, that she finds, the painting of Jesus and the apostle keeps changing
Gets a
as
new-
more people get added to the apostles.
I like that. That was really clever.
Yeah, that was
That
good.
was funny.
Yeah, it's a good
Right.
little note.
Like,
let's
just,
go
like this
through-
random guy with glasses just shows up and she's
Yeah.
like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 11, 12,
Hmm.
13.
So okay, so let's go through the apostle. The first apostle is a very reclusive woman
Mm-hmm.
who is, they say, is very, very pretty, and all the men in her building are in love with her.
And all the women hate her because
and all the women hate her and call her a whore, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it says 2 of the men are over 84 and 1 of them is under 9.
Yeah. Right.
And then they show like this like scene of like 5 or 6 guys on a balcony, and 2 of them are like really old, and one of them is like a little kid.
Yeah, this little like it's like a line of dudes, and this one little tiny.
And then they also introduced the fact that she had a tragedy that happened to her when she was a kid, and she lost her arm. So she is an amputee, right?
Which has that artificial arm.
Artificial arm.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's an important part of the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
This is true. This is true. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask if we should describe all of the apostles and then talk about how they interrelate, or talk about the story of each apostle individually.
We can do that. We can talk about all the apostles.
Yeah, because there's
the second apostle is a guy who hates his job.
Mm-hmm.
He is had a very boring life. Just think accountant or something like that. Has never been married or anything.
Think accountant. Poor accountants, man. They get a
I know.
bad
Well,
so
they're
there's
useful
some kind
then.
of there is just.
I had
why
weird
almost
mixed
me?
opinions about the second one. Like he just kind of showed up and then blipped off.
Yeah, he
like,
doesn't have to.
He's
that's
never
the
come
point.
back.
They said he doesn't
or-
need to. Well, he goes to the North Pole, but
Right.
What happens is when he found out how much time is left in his life, he's like, "Why am I doing this?" And just stopped going to work. Right. And so he ends up just going to the park and hanging out at the park. At which point, a starling comes by and becomes friends with the starling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The starling CG wasn't that great. The animation was
No,
not that
the black levels were bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Like
like
it
I
didn't-
think it was
it
slightly
didn't-
more the comp than the animation.
Yeah, it was a comp issue because it was definitely not blending right. I was like, God,
Right.
they
The animation also was not.
Yeah. Well, it was there was like this. I'm sorry, we get all VFXy sometimes. The distant shots were better than the close-ups, and then the distant shots it acted like a bird, and the close-ups it acted like a Disney bird.
yeah,
And
Right.
that was the
and it wasn't comp right.
and the comp was off. It looked like but what are those things we used to have little rubber stick-on Scooby-Doo things? You'd put them in
Rubber bird.
Rubber Bird. You remember the game Rubber Bird? We're making this
Yeah,
up.
rubber bird. Where are you?
You
and
have
then
a
you
picture,
throw
picture
dice
of
at the
sc- of
person,
a-
and if you hit them in the head, you get a point.
and everyone
or 2
screams Rubber
points.
Bird, and then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
owe each other $50.
That's right.
Okay, that's fine. Anyway, it reminded me.
$50
of
or
that.
$52?
It depends. It's pre or post 80.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, she talks to him in the park, and they have this, conversation. She can translate what the bird is saying, and the bird is saying, "Why do you?" She's saying, "I wonder why the bird doesn't leave. He has anywhere to go." And the bird says, "I'm wondering why you don't leave too." At which point he just does,
Yeah, right.
and that's the end.
He just follows the bird.
He just
Yeah.
follows the
Off.
bird. and
So
leaves.
fertilization done.
And then the scribe says, "Do you need to have the apostle with you?" I was like, I don't think so. He's just an apostle.
Like the talking to the bird was just like a miracle
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
she performed.
Yeah, she has to make these very, very small miracles. And I was like, I can't do the wine thing, or I can't do that.
Like to
My
prove-
favorite.
prove, yeah.
Yeah, right. And my favorite is when she's talking to the trans kid, and it's just like, "Can you do any miracles?" And he's like, "No, I can duplicate a ham sandwich." She's like, "You can duplicate a ham sandwich?" It's like,
Sometimes the hand
not-
is missing.
sometimes the ham is missing. It's like this is
That
this
was
is
a
good.
cool. Or
Yeah.
what was where she literally just like walked on water and she just moved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, these very smart little gags that I liked very much. I mean, they're like, I like those little throwaway notes like that. I thought that was very good.
Yes.
And so then you have him. You have the assassin.
No, well, the third
I'm
third
sorry,
one
the third one.
that she meets is the guy who's the sex crazed guy,
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, right.
right? So we find out a couple things about him. He's an interesting character. He's he found out when he was going to die that he had so many days, and he just emptied out his bank account. He says he's got 200 euros per day that he can spend,
Right.
for the rest of his life. And then he decides he's going to go to sex shows and to prostitutes every day, right? So she, as Lily was saying, he's at one of those sex shows where he's just sitting in a window, very Paris, Texas kind of scene,
like
right?
Wall comes up and
he's just watching a stripper. And the girl talks to him while the sex show is going on, which is awkward.
Yeah.
Like there's a shot of like both of their backs.
Same in
and,
Amélie,
like,
though.
the stripper, like.
Yes.
Right.
But there's no kid. It's like actually was a kid.
Right. Yeah. So it's made to make you feel like, well, sort of put off. Just like this is feeling very bizarre. It sort of makes her feel more alien and removed because she is completely above this scene in that scene, and it makes you feel kind of worse for the guy, where you're just like, don't you feel weird about this, dude? Like this, like this is, you're so desperate and in your own zone that you don't like you're not changing your act. Yeah. And so it's a pretty effective routine.
The thing that we also find out about him is that the place he first fell or figured anything out sexually is, and he was on vacation by the seaside, and he saw they were staying in campers. Right. And he sees the Germans had a young girl there, and she shows up in a blue bikini, and he's, ever since then he's completely enamored, fixated on her. Right. Completely fixated on her. So that is an interesting thing as well. But that's where he got all of his interests, where everything happened. Right. Ea tells him, is like, you have a really good voice. You should use your voice more often. At which point he does voiceovers for porn.
Right. Which is a weird echo of Love Actually.
Yes.
Right. I was like, strange call out right there. But yes, this is Love Actually. Right. Possibly my favorite story from Love Actually. Actually.
You know what? Have you guys ever, what's the guy's name? He did a movie called The Adjuster.
The Adjuster. Yes. It's going to come to me in a second. I know who you're talking about. Please go ahead.
The Adjuster.
Adam McGowan.
Adam McGowan.
I think.
Yes.
Yes.
But that was a strange one too, where there was a scene where basically his wife like reviewed hardcore films and had to give ratings for different things about things, and she's just very strange.
Right.
But anyway, but when he does the voiceover, he's sitting next to a woman who's doing the female voice for the porn as well, right? And then they're like, "Oh, that was very good. We'll get to the next tape." And then he finds out that she's the German girl.
Yes.
And they falls in love with her again, and they sort of meet up again, which is interesting. All right, so that was the third one.
Then the assassin.
The fourth one was the assassin. Yeah.
The fourth one is the assassin. Right.
Because the fifth one was not the gorilla, the woman who falls in love with the gorilla. Yeah.
Could have been.
I'm not gonna try to pronounce it.
Yes. But yeah, the assassin is a guy who's like his backstory is that he has always been obsessed with death. Always, like, he's killed ants and whatnot since he was a little kid.
Yep.
And now now
everyone knows when they're going to die.
Right. So now
it's not my fault.
He's not to blame if one of his bullets kills someone. If he misses, then it wasn't their day, and if he hits, then they're going to die anyway. And so he can revel in his freedom to
kill people.
To kill people.
He's also extremely unhappy. His wife. He's in a loveless marriage.
That character bothered me.
I think that character is a key to understanding the issues with the film. I'm just going to say that right. I'm going to put a pin in that one right now.
That was another interesting shot, how basically he was lying by a tree with like the shotgun getting ready to, I don't know, find a target. And then this 10-year-old girl just comes up and lies down next to him.
This is actually
and he didn't
my
seem
favorite.
Shocked at all.
Right. And I love this scene where she encourages him to shoot the woman. Is terrific. Like, that's unexpected.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's
That
because
was the other miracle she performed.
yes,
that's the miracle. So she says, "Oh, you're going to shoot the next person in the next 5 seconds that comes by. You should shoot that person."
Mhm.
And I was like, "What? 5, 4, 3?" And it's the woman, the first apostle, who's walking on the
right.
bridge.
And first off, he can't shoot. Like he's just like suddenly is
He doesn't even have bullets in his.
right. He is. She's put the bullet in and get rid of, and so he does. And like he's ramped up to do this, and then when it comes down, she's like fire, and he can't do it. So that says a lot about him. Actually, that reveals a little bit about him. And then when finally he does shoot, after she's like fire, 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 and pushes him to do it, he shoots her in the arm, and she doesn't react because it's her artificial
The
arm.
arm that she lost.
Right, exactly. But it is the thing that connects him to that apostle, as you said, and is the path to setting him free. He falls in love with her because he cannot kill her.
Right.
Right.
The other thing that I thought was interesting is he rides.
Interesting thing to
He
say.
follows her. He gets on the elevator with her.
Mhm.
Slowly touches her. He doesn't realize her arm is artificial. He thinks she's just a miracle, right?
Right.
He slowly touches her hand on the elevator, but it's her artificial hand.
Official hand.
And
Yep.
so,
So
she
like
doesn't
he thinks
react.
he thinks her lack of reaction is like
Her accepting. it.
Acceptance of his touch.
exactly. Right.
and I was like, oh, that's classic misunderstanding.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So
But
it's
he-
pretty interesting that way. But he is definitely a difficult character
Yeah.
to manage.
Yeah. Like he's like I think he's definitely like it's the most interesting to me because whether or not the filmmaker realizes it, that's closer to the filmmaker than any other character.
Right.
Like this is a person who wants to kill everybody. Like he wants to kill all the bad people in the world.
Right.
Like, he wants to feel love. He can't do that because
He also feels betrayed by God.
He's also the
he is
most
betrayed-
pathetic because when he professes
Yes.
love to her, he comes across as such a pathetic person.
yes.
Oh,
And so I don't know whether the movie maker is aware that this is the sort of self-revelatory character, but that's my takeaway. I was like, I think the filmmaker thinks that he is the little girl, but in actuality, he is the assassin,
Yes.
and that's
I
why
agree.
that's why the movie is a little askew.
Right.
So yeah, this it's a very troubling story. I like troubling stories, even when they're not on purpose, because the troubling stuff is what really reveals a lot about what's actually going on.
Correct. The fifth apostle is, what's her name again? Lily?
Catherine
No.
Deneuve.
The lady who falls in love with the gorilla.
Catherine Deneuve from a string of incredible movies. Start at the top, if anyone's seen it, Belle du Jour.
Well, she was also, you remember she was in Masculin Féminin? She was in
Masculine,
Small World?
yes, absolutely
Oh, she's so
magnificent.
good.
Yeah, she's one
So
of the
good.
great actors
Of all
of
time.
the earth.
Of this planet. Yes.
Yes.
Towering Inferno?
Towering Inferno.
Was she really in Towering Inferno?
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if fucking Paul Newman's in Towering Inferno.
Let's see. What are some of the great films that she's done? I'm just going to pull it up here just to see.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with Catherine.
It's hard to go wrong with her. She is known for Belle du Jour, Repulsion, Dancers in the Dark.
Repulsion is fucking crazy.
Repulsion.
That's a great movie. It's a great movie. It's a Roman Polanski movie, so that's a warning in itself. But it is a very, very good movie.
She's still making movies, man.
Oh, she's still doing. Yeah, she's still rocking. She's still rocking. She's
2022,
made
got
a million
movie
movies.
called Habib de La Grande Aventure.
Yeah, she is a completely fearless actor, and does all sorts of crazy shit. And I really, really appreciate her work.
Features.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Big filmography. Check it out. She's awesome. And she sleeps with a gorilla in this
Mississippi
movie. So there you go.
A Slightly Pregnant Man. I've seen that one. That's a
Yep.
funny movie. Yeah. Anyway, she's really, really great. But the thing that she is, and I think she's in a sense, I appreciate the casting of this
Mhm.
because she is kind of the right attitude of that person. Like she's the right age, the right look, right? She plays a woman who is, elderly, so is probably supposed to be in her late 60s or 70s. Mm-hmm. She's married to a man who really just doesn't care for her at all. Right. But he's very rich, right? Obviously a very successful businessman who's never there. So she is abandoned in this nice house, takes care of her shoes, puts them in order, that kind of stuff. But
takes all the things out of her purse and cleans the purse and puts them all back in.
Yeah. But she's obviously very, very lonely. Mm-hmm. Very, very lonely. And upset about that. And she drives on the street and then notices male prostitutes there.
Mm-hmm. And that was it presented a little unclear, but I think that was what they were going for.
I think that's the idea. Yeah.
No, they're gigolos. Yeah. Yeah. It was funny. There was a friend of mine. He was a DD. Said he used to go to this coffee shop in Brentwood? But apparently, he says every time I go there, there's a guy there, and an older woman would sit with him, and then they would leave together. And it happens, different women, but they always met at that coffee shop. And he's like, I'm pretty sure he's a gigolo for all these bored Brentwood housewives.
Hey man, that's good work if you can get it. I bet that's a pretty high price tag in Brentwood.
Right. Right.
Not bad.
But she ends up basically, not getting with the guy, right? Mm-hmm. But she's very ashamed of it and shy. And the guy, she gives him the money, but he steals the rest of her money.
Yeah, right.
It's not working out too well.
Right.
But Ia takes care of her and takes her. This is the other thing she does.
Music.
The music. It's like everyone has she says, I can hear everyone's music. So your music is Handel, your music is this. And you look at her, she's very just a sad woman. And she goes, your music is circus music.
Yeah, right.
So they go to the circus. And in the circus, they see a gorilla in a cage who she falls in love with.
I love how fast this happens. This is my favorite part of it. It's just sort of
she just they do like the ET thing where she touches his finger and then she just goes and buys him.
There was a lot of Wings and Desire by the time we did that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it was just like, it became, but to do that and to go to the nostalgic thing of the circus, and then it goes one step farther. It gets out of that plane they're in, where it's not making it up as you go, but there was a little bit of a. Well, to me, it's not like, they lost me here, but it was definitely like.
Well, it's definitely thrown in to break the movie intentionally in some way. Like you can't put Catherine Deneuve. You can barely put Catherine Deneuve in your movie without breaking it if nobody else is of the same caliber as her. But let alone.
But you don't
casting her opposite a gorilla. Like it's such a ludicrous idea. Yeah, it'd be one thing if it was a no-name actor who falls in love with a gorilla, but it's Catherine Deneuve falls in love with a gorilla.
I think that's what makes
pure absurdist nonsense.
I think that's what makes it ironic. Yes.
Yeah, like it's just absolute.
But it takes it just to a different point now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that if I didn't have other issues with the movie, this might work. But it breaks it, and I go like, okay, well, you broke it. Why? Why did you choose to break it? It's not that it's bad. It's not that it's not interesting. But I don't.
It was a stunt.
It comes off. It doesn't
diminishes the rest of your work.
It doesn't for me. It didn't connect with any core statement. Primarily because the core statement is very vague, and I feel like if they had sharpened up their game on everything else, I totally am into throw the fucking gorilla in there, man. Absolutely. Like you gotta commit to the swing, and like that. So he has the right level of courage as a filmmaker to do that, but sometimes it's a swing and a miss. And I think that that's
you sounded like Tommy Lasorda right there.
I was trying for Yogi
commit
Berra,
to
but I
the
appreciate
swing.
it. Commit to the swing. Yeah, you gotta follow through the swing. And like I hate it more when filmmakers, Renfield, if you're listening, like if you wind up for the swing and then give a really tentative, like maybe it's a bunt, like that's way more offensive to me. But a big swing is a big risk, and I think for you and for me that didn't pay off of itself. I thought it was funny, but it doesn't connect with anything else. Is that about right?
Yes, for me.
Yeah.
Yes, we are on the same page.
Yeah, and that's not a problem with the gorilla bit. That's a problem with the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
and because if they had built the rest of the movie, then the gorilla bits
it had sharp edges.
Yeah, the gorilla bit's the cherry on a sundae if they got their act together with the other stuff.
It's the god and the priest and all that is.
That was
right.
funny though.
Yeah,
it's funny,
exactly.
but it's the problem.
Yeah, like this is the thing is like I think this is a very very funny and occasionally very beautiful movie. Like I without like I think we'd say the last talking about the end till the end, but like to talk about the stories of the apostles, like the bit with the woman and her dream of the dancing hand is like. That's just a great little short film. Like that's a really lovely little. It doesn't have to be a statement that's literalized for me. Like I get the vibe, I get the feeling of it, and that worked very, very well. And I think there's loads of little moments like that where I'm just like, there's real skill going on. Like he has something that he really wants to say. I'm just not sure if he knows what it is.
Right.
Well,
I had one part of the problem. Like, so she ends up in bed with the gorilla, which is really funny, right? And her husband comes home, and the gorilla scares the crap out of her husband, and she's happy that she could stay with the gorilla and screw the husband, right?
Yeah, right.
Also, the big thing that happened with her husband is that they both found out how much they have to live. She has like 5 years and he had like 20 years.
20 years, whatever it is.
And so he was relieved of this.
Right. Oh, thank God I only put up with you for 5 years.
And so this is what really set her into a tailspin as well.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Which was also kind of a funny part of it. But when the gorilla's there and she's having sex with the gorilla and the guy comes over and the gorilla threatens the guy, he's scared. Right.
Right.
Which
Runs
we've
out
established.
so like Laurel and Hardy.
But what we've established through this plot a little bit, the thing that bothers me is like people aren't scared of death anymore because they know exactly when they're going to die.
They're going to die. Yeah.
So there's no reason to be fearful.
And
right?
it would be more interesting if he got courage from knowing he was going to die for 20 years. Like, and he stood up, right? And he's just like, I'm standing up against your dumb gorilla. And then the gorilla breaks every bone in his body and fractures his skull, and he's in a hospital for 25 years.
Right. Yes, that would be funny.
Like,
now,
the
big thing, obviously, that the reason that we should mention also, the reason that God is very pissed off is that now no one has they have no reason to fear him because they know when they're going to die. Right.
Right.
And so that's the thing, that he's lost all credibility. He can't do anything about it. No one gives a crap. Right. Because, and it's sort of also like the consequences of knowing, if you knew exactly when you were going to die, you would do things differently in life. Right. Then they make a parody of that too, where there's the guy who's the thrill seeker who says, I'm not going to die for another 56 years. And he keeps jumping off of buildings and
buildings and whatnot. And he's still living and surviving. He makes basically, he's like a YouTube star.
He's like, I got 62 years left. This isn't going to kill me. So let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah. There was a movie like that, wasn't? Oh, it's what's it called? Bill Murray.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's essentially Groundhog Day, right? That's a Groundhog Day element. And also a slightly more obscure movie that I think is playing on Tubi right now, because I love giving Tubi for advertisement. It's Jeff Bridges in Fearless by Peter Weir.
I love
great film.
Fearless.
Great film.
In fact,
you want to cry? If you have too much cry built up, watch Fearless.
You know what's interesting is that I told you about the closing the chapter, like getting just kind of closure.
Mm-hmm.
The person I did it with involved, we were traveling and we were in San Francisco, and her friend, that was his first movie. It was Benicio, because they grew up in Puerto Rico together. So
nice.
she's like, "Oh, we got to go see this movie because Benicio's in this new movie." And I went into theater to see it in the early '90s. But it was, and the Strawberry issue. I love that film.
Yeah, it's a great film. No one's heard of it. I've never met anybody who's seen it except you, Eric. Like that movie is fantastic.
It's,
Jeff Bridges, Isabel, what's her name? Isabel Rossellini. Not Peter Riegert, rather Tom Hulse. And Jeff, it's one of Jeff Bridges' best performance. And if you like Peter Weir films, which everyone should, that's a hidden beauty right there. In any case,
and a young Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, Fearless, great film. Any case, so to close in on the end of the movie.
Well, hold on. We still have one more.
Oh,
We have one
I'm
more
sorry.
apostle.
Oh, one more
One more
apostle. I'm sorry.
apostle.
Go ahead. Yeah.
But one more apostle is a very sickly child.
Ricky
Yes, that's
Jay.
right. Yeah.
And
What was his name?
I don't remember his name, but he's
He
very
had
sick.
he had like 53 days left to live, something like that.
This is my favorite story in the movie, by the way.
Yes.
And
Me too, a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah,
I love the gorilla, but this is a good one.
This is a very sweet, simple story.
Right.
And
because also the child is about the same age as Aya.
Yeah. And I feel like I really wish they had introduced this story earlier.
Yeah, it does feel a little last minute, but maybe like the last half hour of the movie, that character is the character.
Oh, without a
main
doubt.
character.
Yeah. And it really becomes integral in a way that should be happening for the film with everybody. But like and so like it's a starts as a young boy who is transitioning to being a young girl.
No.
And
No.
Oh, go,
It's
please go ahead.
no. It's basically
He's done.
he has only so many days to live. He's very sickly. He's always
Right.
always has
His liver.
health problems. And then to find out he's only got 53 days. His parents like, well, what do you want to do anything? 53 days? Do you want to go on a
Right.
trip? Do you want to like anything you want? And he goes, is it possible for me to be a girl?
Right. Exactly.
And that's it. That's all he said.
But that's the
Well,
like
no.
that. Go ahead.
He was correct about the transitioning. I think that the desire to be a girl was always in there. He just
I got 53 days left. I got to fucking get this.
Yeah, exactly. It's everyone wanted to get that last. They didn't want to leave anything unresolved.
Right.
And I
Like
think
that- yeah.
I think that character knowing when their death was going to be, I was like, all right,
Right. Like this is
I had
the
these
this is
inner
the beautiful.
thoughts, and let's
Right.
make them not my
This is
inner
the beautiful
thoughts.
bit
Let's
of
be a
it for me.
girl.
Is like that. Like in the beginning, he hears about it and he instantly understands that there is something that I need to confront, and I'm going to confront it, and then I do, and then I'm happy. Like I'm just like that is the sort of iconic baseline story that should be happening here. Like that's the thing, like where it's just like this is something that anybody else in the movie might have all sorts of trouble with, or whatever it is, or people have opinions about, or whatever it is. But he's just like, this is what I'd like, and so I'm going to do this. I got this much time left, and it's important to me, so here we are. And like
It's such a grab for. It's such a way that they manipulate their situation as to they hold all the power because screw it, they're only going to live for less than 2 months.
Right. And I think that is the there's a core element of truth to that story that is so missing from all the other stories that as soon as the story showed up, I was like, okay. Like this is actually the movie. And then they don't spend enough time on it. Like I'm just like, oh man, okay, that's fine, whatever. You know, but I was thankful for that story. I think that that's the most sort of like simple and compelling one, and it's the first time in the movie where I really cared about Ia. Like where I was like, I'm connecting with our main character.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
it was really because she made that connection with someone her
Right.
age.
Right.
Like it makes her see. I don't even know if she's human. I mean, she's the daughter of God, but it makes her seem more human and more grounded that she
Yes.
has these
Very good
connections.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully said, right? And it's like the issue, like the overarching
She's
issue.
never had any friends though of her age.
Well,
at
yeah.
all.
Well, and also
Right.
like the issue I have with the movie overall, and the thing that it doesn't resolve for me is that where the movie is hamstrung is that this is a story about, I mean, she's the main character. This is a story about someone being correct, and there is no more boring a story than that. Like,
yeah,
congratulations, you're right.
That happens all the time. Have you seen every Marvel film?
Yeah, but
that's why I don't like Marvel films. Like, there's like a like simplest version of any story in the world comes down to this: a character has a choice to make. Do they have the courage? Yes, no. There's your story, right? But this character, our central character, is right at the beginning of the movie, suffers no challenge about her innate correctness, and then is proven right at the end of the movie. And I'm like, she's an asshole. Like, she's exactly like her father. Like, she didn't realize anything. She just went down and made everything her way, just the way he did. And because
there was no real growth.
There's zero growth. There's no there's no realization for her. Like, she should have met the trans girl.
Even the mother had more growth than she did.
Exactly. And like, this is where I think that Eric, your summation of the film at the beginning of the conversation was exactly accurate. Like, this filmmaker is really mad and doesn't know where to put it, and doesn't know how to look at himself through his art so he can come to a realization, which is what Jeunet does in Amélie. Like, Amélie has a problem herself. She has a problem, and she's trying to solve it through everybody else. And only when she finally solves it in herself is everything really resolved for herself and everyone.
Yeah.
You know? And whereas Ia is like, I mean, I feel for her because, like, she's beaten by her crazy fucking awful dad. And so that buys me some time. But at some point, the movie should, like, of all the people that she meets, these stories should challenge her and what her assumptions are and what her responsibility to the world and herself are, so that she goes in with one idea but comes out with another idea. And instead, she's just like, I'm right, fuck you. And in the end, it's like, fucking flowers in the sky, bitches. And I was like, oh, I don't like that pattern that much, though. Now I have to fucking live under that dome?
Yeah, you were saying basically for everybody, it's like, has to have that struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, that's how I'm going to connect. And like, and so this last story, like, she has the ability to connect with her, and it almost happens. And then they're like, well, anyway. I was like,
they kind of yada yada at the end.
Yeah, I'm just like, you had the key. Like, you almost opened the door, you know? And it made me think of, like, the greatest one. Have you seen Lily About Time?
Lily, it's one of the best films.
It's the best time travel story ever made. And it's very charming, very sweet, and it's so, like, I don't want to give away the ending, but that movie does what this movie needs to do.
Yes, you're right.
And because the end of that, like, I won't tell you anything about Time, except that I had to watch it for a project I was on. The leader of the project was like, you have to see this movie before we talk tomorrow. I was like, yeah, dude, absolutely. And I totally forgot about it.
The cover of it just looks like the cheesiest rom-com ever.
The worst Netflix.
Not rom-com.
Oh, no, it's just like, it looks awful. It looks like it's going to be an awful movie. And I was like, dude, I'll totally watch it for tomorrow's. Say again?
Which one is this?
This is the one with Brendan Gleeson, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not Brendan Gleeson, Donald Gleeson. And what's her name? The actor I don't respond to very much. But in any case, I had to see this, and I was like, Rachel McAdam. And I was like, I don't want to watch straight to Netflix Rachel McAdam rom-com. Like, this is a nightmare. And so I put it off, and then I forgot about it. And then at 2 a.m, I was like, oh shit, I have to watch that movie for tomorrow's meeting. And so I said to Anne, I'm like, listen, I got to stay up and watch this movie. I know it's like 2 a.m. And she's like, I'll watch it with you. And so we watched it. At 4 a.m, I was uncontrollably sobbing. uncontrollably. Like I
Such a good
couldn't
movie.
believe my eyes.
We introduced it. We told my my father-in-law about it, and he texted us. He's like, "I just watched this movie. Why have I never heard of this movie? It's amazing."
That is
like,
the
yeah,
great
it's really
secret
good.
movie ever made. And
one of the
so, like,
greatest.
if you get
I'll
a
see
chance
that.
to
I'll
see
see that movie over and over again. I
Oh,
love
dude.
that
And Lily, if you get a chance to see this, please let us know what you think of it, because I would love to know what you think of this movie. It is so beautifully done, and it's so sweet, so charming. And the ultimate point, you'll see exactly what I mean. The ultimate point of that movie is exactly where this movie should be.
Right.
Right.
It makes sense.
And About Time has almost zero special effects. Like, it doesn't do anything. It spends no money to try to convince you. In fact,
Well,
it
the
goes
budget of,
opposite
by the way,
direction.
the brand new Testament, the budget was $8.7 million.
They did a good job for it. I mean, that looks
did a
great
good
for
job
8.7. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's really nicely done.
Only made
but, like,
15 million in the box office.
Right. Like, to give you an idea, in About Time, it's a time travel movie in which the time travel mechanism is go in the closet, close your eyes, and like shake your fists, and then you travel back in time. Like, that's it. And
I was gonna say, like, it's a time travel movie, but there's no special effects. That's how.
it's insane. It's insane.
It's
So
really
yeah, like this movie, like I'm very thank you for bringing this to us, and I really enjoy. Like I really enjoyed thinking about it. I found it was a frustrating movie, but I enjoyed thinking about it, and there's loads of like brilliant stuff in it. But it was genius of you to combo this with Amélie, because
Yeah, it
it's
was.
like literally the perfect pairing. Like, as I compare and contrast Film Nerd Radio Hour, this is like that was 100% on the mark. I couldn't have asked for a better combo.
I did think it was funny when I brought it to y'all. Eric's first reaction was, "Yes, thank you."
That is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And hell, a reason to watch Amélie again. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Nothing wrong with that. But yes. And by the way, if you do want to see this movie nonetheless and sort of get an understanding of it, it is got some interesting moments.
Mm-hmm.
The ending is frustrating, as we've mentioned before.
There's also there's only one real confrontation between Ia and God while they're in the mortal realm, and that's
Right.
when he chases her off the dock and she walks on water.
Right.
That's the only real confrontation that they have, which, you know.
Yes. Well, he gets into a fight with a priest because he keeps telling the priest about everything that's going on, about him being
It's like,
God.
I'm God. Remember when
I'm
you got
God.
pneumonia? That was me.
Yeah, it
Like,
was me. Right. Yeah. Like, and again, that actor and also the guy playing the priest, like, that's a good combo. They're
Right.
great.
Yeah.
They're really funny together.
But it basically makes the priest realize what an asshole God is.
Yes, exactly.
Which is the point of the movie.
Which is the point of the movie.
Right.
And so,
But then he ends up getting deported and go to Uzbekistan to build washing machines, which is, of course,
and like
Which
every
is,
single one, he like peeks in and.
yeah, is there a hole in that one? Can I go back home? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, yeah, and like that's like, so all those gags work great, and like there's loads of stuff to see in this movie. It's definitely a movie to check out. It's really interesting, and I bet whatever this filmmaker does will be equally.
The conclusion is essentially that the goddess does the classic unplugs the computer to vacuum and then plugs it back in.
That's
And
right.
then she
resets everything. And locks
She gets into the computer and then she basically stops all the death.
Yes.
And she stops and she makes the flower and she makes the sky
world
made
into-
of flowers.
Right.
Humans can walk underwater and have
Right.
pet fish and gravity is flexible. It's this whole
Which
thing
is
where-
all very funny and very charming in regards to her, like, because like she gets no power in the movie until the end, and I'm just like, that is kind of hilarious.
She has the slow, like, when there's no one in the house, she can finally turn off the TV.
Yes,
And it's
yeah.
finally peaceful.
That's a
and
good
she
story.
can finally vacuum without anyone yelling at her. And I really loved her growth.
Yes, yeah.
throughout
They
the movie. It
they
was
complete her story.
very-
Great. I love that character actor.
Well,
in
she
both movies.
she does the same thing when she's wiping the statue of Jesus and cleaning him.
Just
It's
like
the same as when she's doing it with her husband in Amélie. It's like
Amélie,
almost the
yeah,
exact same thing.
Yeah, it's funny.
Like,
Exactly.
preserving what
exactly.
little left she has of them.
It's a sense of control.
And, like, it's
Yeah.
a whole thing where at the beginning, she always, like, it's like a regular, like, rectangular table with a chair on each side. And she always has one plate set for Jesus, even though he's dead.
Right. Yeah. Don't leave the fourth plate out. He's not coming back.
Yeah.
The other funny thing is when he opens. This is God has no power, right?
Mm-hmm.
He opens the fridge and the fridge is empty, and he just looks at his wife, pissed off. and she takes the fridge, closes the door, opens the door, and is filled with beer.
Yeah, exactly. She has the power to create all the
She
beer
has
in
the
fridge.
power
Yeah,
to make the
exactly.
miracles. He doesn't.
Yeah, no, it's like these are all like the movie is totally so like as much as I may have been spending my time critiquing it, like
There's an
loads of good
message.
stuff.
There's an
Definitely
ultimate. Clearly, this person has a problem with religion, right? He
Yeah.
has a problem with
Yes.
the concept of God, and he's just going to tackle that in some very absurd way. He
Right.
did,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But you're right. There is no necessarily like growth. There is certain areas that need to be.
Yeah, it's difficult to. I mean, it's a challenging kind of thing to do, and like I'm definitely down, like any artist taking on something that clearly causes them that much pain, and makes them that mad. Like it is responsible to take it on, and I think that the only thing I would wish is that this guy try this again in a few years and see if he has a different, like a slightly more dimensional view.
Yeah.
Because if there were a more dimensional view, then I would believe in the truth of what he is saying about good stuff as well. Because you can't just have like there's bad people, and if we just get rid of the bad people, then the world will be fine. Like that's not how reality works. and I think that in another few years, as he ages, he will probably come to a different conclusion than he did for this film.
Yeah. Also, the other thing is every time God was showing up, they had this sad trombone, goofy music, like.
Is that the Price is Right losing song right there that you just said?
Yeah.
Wop, 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 wop.
They had such iconic music for all the characters
That was totally
that I
music
really
from,
enjoyed.
Yeah,
Candid
that's funny.
Camera.
Which one?
Yeah. Oh, Candid Camera?
Candid Camera.
Candid Camera music.
That kind of stuff, yeah. Yeah.
But seeing God get beat up by all these random people is really hilarious as well.
That's pretty
God
good.
had such good slapstick comedy
Yeah.
throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
I generally really enjoy seeing characters get their own type of music.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for example, this is a weird example, but
Star
in
Wars?
a cartoon, no.
Very much in Star Wars, but yes.
cartoon.
Mhm.
Sorry. Yes, in Star Wars. That was not what I was talking about. In a cartoon I used to watch called Steven Universe, they always had each
Steven Universe
character.
rocks.
It's the best,
Rocks,
and I will
rocks.
talk about it forever.
Yeah. Separate podcast.
Get it? It's rock.
Dan and Lily's Steven Universe
I like
Appreciation
Steven
Hour.
Universe.
It's such a good. It's off topic, but it's a good cartoon that tackles so many real issues in the world,
Yeah.
and it
Way
tackles
ahead of
them
its
in a
time.
way that can introduce children to how to deal with those issues, and
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. But that's
Tip-top.
what I was talking about. They do this thing where each character has their own type of music. Like one of them is synth, one of them is bass, one of them is piano, and then they do these fusions where that's their music coming together.
Yes.
And when the
yes.
fusion goes poorly, their music doesn't match up
It's
properly.
discordant. Exactly.
And I love that type of dynamic, and it really showed. Well, it didn't show it in the same way that Steven Universe does.
I was
but-
going to ask Chat. There's a name for this, and Jason jumped right to it. It's leitmotif, and so like that's when you have each character has a particular voice of music, and then they come together into a single song. Yeah, it's a very powerful tool. Very powerful tool, and like and anything that supports Steven Universe. Martini Giant has been lacking Steven Universe.
It lacks
content.
Steven Universe. Yep, it does. I think you should have a podcast where it's just season 1 of Steven
I
Universe.
think that's a fair point. I like that very much.
It was also pretty funny in Family Man, where he asks the genie what he wants. He goes, "I want my own theme song."
Yeah, that's great. See, there's another Nicolas Cage movie that is lovable, right? There we go.
Which one?
Family Man. Isn't that Family Man?
No, I was talking about Family Guy.
Oh, Family Guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah. Okay.
It's something. Family Man. Oh, yeah. What's that? That one's. Oh,
The movie
Yes.
that should be bad but is good.
directed by a horrible person.
By Brett Ratner, no
by
less.
Brett Ratner. But I love
Yes.
that movie.
The poster child of Me Too
The Me
directors.
The worst.
Yeah.
The worst.
But what a movie.
What a movie.
Bizarre, but true. Evil people can make good things. Just don't pay attention to them.
Separate the art from the artist.
Very much so in this case.
I have to do that a
about
lot
that a
with music.
It's the way it is, man. It's the way it is. And we've gone down this road many, many times, but I'm trying to refine
part of Tar.
this is exactly it. So like the way that I like to phrase it as fast as I possibly can is art and the art. If you feel something from watching or experiencing a piece of art, that feeling came from you. It's yours and you own it. Nobody, especially not some prick who made it, can take it from you. Like, don't let them. Whoever they are, whatever they've done, they have nothing to do with the fact that you fell in love with a part of yourself. Hold that. Throw them out. Doesn't matter. The artist makes no difference. Keep the love that you found. That's that.
Yep. Okay.
That was
Lily,
good,
how was
guys.
that? Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Dude, so good to see you. That was great.
Yeah, it was nice.
That was awesome to have you on the
Referenced
show.
a lot of movies I didn't get, but you know what? I could piece it together.
Dude, you brought it like, hey,
yourself
man.
really well.
You
dropped
brought us
Steven
something
Universe
we've never
bomb.
seen.
Great insight.
Like that. Now we have a new thing to talk about. And these really, like, this is one of the best combos in a while. We've had a good run of shows, but this was really, really
Yeah,
exciting.
last time we got lazy, we just said Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, Clay, you know what? I like that guy that everybody likes. Me too.
Yeah.
This is great. Absolutely awesome. You're welcome on the show anytime, and that was amazing.
That was cool.
That was good.
All right.
very
Well, thanks, you guys. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, Groot.
All right.
Who gets? Lily, take the last one.
Okay, so you get the last drink,
Really?
okay?
Okay.
All right. So, drink.
Talk.
Drink.